All right, I'm not sure what's going on here, but there you go. What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV here for an emergency stream for you guys. We got Sai, Ashmatic, Sim, Sean. You're on mute, Sean. Look,
I wasn't saying anything. I was just doing this.
The moment you've all been waiting for is here. The day has come. Antonio Conte has been sacked from Tottenham Hotspur. Let me just read out the club statement that's come at bloody 10:30 on a Sunday night. I don't know what they're doing. Like, we've been waiting.
It's supposed to be 10:30 a.m. tomorrow, Ben. They got the time wrong.
Oh right, yeah.
he scheduled the tweet, but they scheduled it for the wrong day by accident. I think that's what happened.
But the statement reads: we can announce that head coach Antonio Conte has left the club by mutual consent. We achieved Champions League qualification in Antonio's first season at the club. We thank Antonio for his contribution and wish him well for the future. Christian Stellini will take acting head coach for the remainder of the season, along with Ryan Mason as assistant head coach. Daniel Levy says we have 10 Premier League games remaining, and we have a fight on our hands for Champions League place. We all need to pull together. Everyone has to step up to ensure the highest possible finish for our club and amazing loyal supporters. What about a trophy for the amazing loyal supporters, please? But what do we make of this, guys? Sim?
I have to say, I think as just as a starting point, the fact it says mutual consent, I guess that hopefully takes away any case for a lawsuit or anything against Tottenham. I think that's probably the fact that he's agreed with it. Surely that goes under the that goes by the side now. But the most surprising thing for me is that Stellini's staying on as manager, which is absolutely shocking to me. Stellini was his assistant at Juventus back in 2012. He was assistant at Inter Milan over the last 2 seasons in Italy. Obviously, he's been his assistant at Tottenham. And you would think that if Stellini 100% agreed with everything that Conte had said in the press conference and how he'd gone about things, then he would have walked with his manager. You know, they're very much. They've been a partnership for a very long time. Stellini's worked under Conte long term. Sorry?
You saying he's stabbing him in the back?
I don't know. Maybe.
It's money.
I like it.
Money.
I think it's very strange. Why is Stellini staying on?
He's getting paid. He's getting paid a bonus. If Tottenham finish top 4, he's going to make a cheeky meal on his way out. By the end of the season, he's going to be gone back with Conte. But
is there no loyalty to his number one?
Yeah, no.
He doesn't deserve no loyalty, man. That man doesn't deserve nothing.
Yeah, but this is a guy. Stellini is a guy who's been with Conte for a very, very long time. So you would think either, I don't know, maybe something's happened, but in that relationship, that means Stellini feels comfortable staying on in that position when Conte leaves. I just think I think that's quite surprising. But what do we think about Stellini staying on and it not being Mason? Because you would think with Stellini staying on as well, like, is there going to be a massive change to how we play or anything like that, or is it just going to be the same?
For me, I think they're not putting respect on Mason's name, to be fair. If I was Mason, I'd have been thinking, right, I'm going to be taking over training. And then all of a sudden, the second right-hand man comes along in Stellini. And I know, like, obviously he's been there before. They've worked together. But I would have thought, like, it's my job. I'm ready to take it up. Do you know what I mean? That's my opinion.
He needs a hand to hold, right?
Wow.
Like, he does, right? How old is Mason?
He's been manager before. He's been manager before that, hasn't he?
He had an assistant then that was probably doing something to that, like similar sort of kind of thing, right? It's not a big deal. Like, I don't think we shouldn't read into this too much. I think Stellini's been asked to steady the ship. Right? There was a period for what was it, four games or whatever back in January over Christmas, whatever, when Stellini was in charge. And he's been asked to steady the ship and have some sort of continuation rather than having to go out and make a rash decision right now, because whatever decision they make over the next manager needs to be the right one. There's obviously conversations happening around Paratici as well. And so for right now, until the end of the season, the best case scenario is to not make any rash decisions around the manager or anything else. Give it to Mason, but Mason needs a bit of a steady hand. That maybe they've got a good relationship with Stellini, and then those two figure it out. And if maybe Stellini gets paid a little bumper packet on his way out at the end of the season, but to me it makes sense. I don't think we should overthink it. It's the best course of action to get top four without having to spend a lot of money on a new player right now, a new manager right now.
It's not about it being the right decision. It's just about, isn't it strange that Conte has very much a tight-knit team that he brings with in all of his jobs, and we know Stellini is very much a big part of that team. And the fact that Conte has said what he said outwardly about the culture of the club and all his complaints about the players and everything. He's obviously his job was untenable pretty much after that press conference. We all know that. But you would have thought if Stellini was on Conte's side with what he said, he would have walked with Conte after everything that happened. So the fact that he's staying, and even the fact that he's staying on after being Conte's very loyal assistant for many years, it's just, I don't know, it's very strange. And there has to be a reason for that.
It is strange, but the fact of the matter is, it's just like the way the club look at it. It makes so much sense, but from the club, because we've been playing this football for the last year and a half. Stellini knows exactly what it is. If Mason was to come in, it's a completely, back to the drawing board, four at the back, going back to what he played when he was last manager. So I think Stellini coming in, steadying the ship from now until the end of the season was the only real option if you're not going to bring someone in.
I'm not saying it's right or wrong from the club point of view. I'm just saying from Conte and Stellini's relationship.
Yeah, it is strange. It is strange.
I'm not sure it comes across as like dishonest. It depends on the conversations that are going behind the scenes. Maybe part of the negotiations when it comes to mutual consent is, hey, listen, we'll give you a cheeky 5 million, right? You're arguing for 15. You're owed 2.5, 3.5. We give you 5. We'll give it's money. Money's everything at the end of the day. We'll give you 5, Conte, to drop any other kind of problems in the future. Can we borrow your guy to the end of the season? You're not going to go into a new job until next season anyway. Let me pay him additional bit of money. We need him to help. He and Brian have got a good relationship. To me, it's just like it makes the most sense, like Ben says.
But do you think Stellini was on Conte's side with what he said on last week or 2 weeks ago? Yeah, go on, Ash.
Yeah. I'm thinking, this is a chance for Stellini to be his old man. No matter what happens, at the end of the day, when the season's over, Stellini, I think, should go into management after this. I don't think he should hold Conte's hand anymore. There's a couple of calls that he had against Man City between him and Mason.
We're hearing those were Mason's calls, no?
Yeah, well, that's what I thought. That's why I brought up the original. Like Mason was thinking, am I not good enough? Am I not the main man? Because he made a big call. So that's the reason why I brought that one up. But Sean's right to say, like, they may have a good working relationship. But I just think that, Stellini has a little bit more experience. He was a manager at Genoa under 19s, and he was a manager at Alistair in his time. So I think because Mason's got less experience, I think they've gone and looked at someone like Stellini and said, "Yeah, I think
it's what Sean said, Ash, as well. Like continuity. It's like, no disrespect to Ryan at all, because I think he's going to be a good manager or great manager as time goes by. But for me, like if right now with these many games to go, you just put Ryan in there for those 10. The circus that we're already at, people are just going to laugh at it even more, to be like, oh yeah, we just got rid of the entire infrastructure of the back room and everything, and we're shoving Ryan in again. It just doesn't look. It's not professional as it is standing right now, but I think it looks even more crazy when you do that. And as I said, no disrespect to Ryan, but I think you do have to have more of a prominent senior figure to try and see this season out. And I can't imagine them or any point they would have brought in someone temporarily for a few months like United would do or something like that. It's an absolute joke. Like this whole thing is an absolute joke. I just can't.
Yeah.
I wanted to go to bed, but now I've been
we're
woken
sitting
up.
here, right? We're sitting here now. We've burnt Conte, and like, cast your mind back 18 months. We were going,
We didn't
this
burn
is
Conte, Ben.
last
Conte burned
chance.
us.
All right, whatever you want to say. Yeah, Mourinho's come here, Conte's come here, Poch, all these managers have come here, and we haven't won anything. How are we looking back at Conte's tenure at Spurs?
Oh man, I think it's
overpriced and bang average.
I think it's a reflection on Spurs, to be fair, because again, we've got an elite manager that's won elsewhere, and they've come to Tottenham, and it's just like a bad reflection on us. Do we have the right environment for players and managers to succeed? Is this the right culture? Is it the right? Do we have the foundation? Do we have the right tools to help us to get to another level? Because when they are at other clubs, is it too much of a drop off? Do you know what I mean? When it comes that, so it almost looks really bad on Spurs, in my opinion.
Tottenham is the lowest ebb that any of these world-class managers that we've employed. It's the lowest ebb that any of these guys have ever got to after hitting their peaks. And I think that the gap between where Tottenham are and where we're supposed to be getting with the expectations of fans is so big. I would love to see Conte or Jose go to a team that is of the equivalent level. Like, I don't think Roma's the equivalent level to what I'm about to suggest, but go somewhere deeper and then create success. This argument that Tottenham turns elite managers into failures, I think is well out of line, because I think that the level that Tottenham we can attract the manager of this level, but in reality, we're not at that level. But none of those managers ever go anywhere lower and do any better than us. So I don't think.
Hear me out. The narrative at the moment is people leave Spurs and they win trophies. They win stuff.
No, but that's the point I'm trying to make. They don't they leave Spurs and go to either better clubs or clubs that have easier routes. Jose Mourinho is the example you're pointing to. Jose Mourinho, the only trophy he won for Roma was like beating Farmers League teams, and you're going to compare him to Conte, who screwed up in that league. He did the same thing. So I don't think it's reasonable to sit there and think that the only other manager that's left Tottenham and gone on to win something was Pochettino, who went to PSG, and like winning something for PSG is like me scratching my ass in the morning. It's an inevitability.
And I agree to some extent, but you look at your Capues, that we can get a tune out of. You look at your Foyes, we couldn't get a tune out of. You know what I'm saying? They're going there winning cups, and we're scratching our heads like, raw. You were at Tottenham. What's going on? You got Dembele now.
The toughest league in the world, and we're in this weird bracket of not quite making it better than the also rans, but not quite the main event.
But Sean, what were you expecting out of Conte anyway? Like, he got us top four. We're still in the top four. Wasn't that his remit?
Yeah. So when I said I thought he was overpriced and bang average, I thought he was overpriced and did. Sorry, I shouldn't have said bang average. Overpriced and he hit the ceiling. Tottenham have got a glass ceiling. And I just don't think he was never going to change it. The majority of Tottenham fans are desperate for a trophy. The only trophy that Conte's got history of really doing well in is league titles, because that's where his emphasis is. And Tottenham are going up against absolute Goliaths, and it's a different kettle of fish. So for me, he did everything he was supposed to, everything that he could have done, unless he focused on something which he never usually does, which is the cups. And on that level, he failed miserably.
If Conte's gone now, he's done. It's over, yeah? But he left us at fourth. He got us fourth. Anything past this now. So imagine we don't get fourth now. It's going to look nuts.
We're not going to get fourth.
No,
we're not going to get fourth.
Once he did that press conference, Ash, there's no turning back. We've seen it with Livy in the past, haven't we?
He pretty much lit a match and poured some gasoline on it. And then
but he said everything that every fan thinks. It's amazing.
No, what he said might have been right. It's not what he said that was wrong. It's where he said it, when he said it, why he said it, and how he said it. All of those things there's a massive issue with. What he actually said, bang on. Everything else, the five questions, everything else, the other four, completely out of line, had to go.
Yeah. And I think he alienated the players way too much, obviously, with what he said. I think the one wrong thing I think he did say, in terms of which I didn't agree with, having a think about it, was he called a lot of the players selfish. And I think that, questioning, like, you can question their mentality and you can question whether they're bottlers or not, and that's all fair game. But when you're questioning their professionalism, whether that they're selfish and that they're not like, I don't look at this group of players like this is a group of players, by the way, Conte himself has said is like a real is a very like
best
good
group of players he's
in
ever
that sense.
coached.
He said that before, so I think
crap.
for him to say that it's selfish, I didn't agree with that. I didn't agree with him saying that, to be honest. And I think that alienated them too much. But I think what he said about everything else he said in that press conference about them not wanting to play under pressure, not wanting the stress of the important games, all those kind of things, I completely agree with 100%.
Yeah. But he wasn't saying it in that environment to galvanize a response. He was saying it in that environment to get the sack. And congratulations, mate. Congratulations, you got it. Well done.
And
I hope that Daniel Levy wasn't bent over a table and had to pay out a lot of money for it because he didn't earn the first 25 million, in my opinion.
Sean, the fact they've come to a mutual agreement, does that tell? What do you reckon that means? That means that they've paid out the remainder of his contract.
Undisclosed, right?
What do you reckon? But what do you reckon? What would you speculate if you're?
I would imagine he got at least the rest of his contract, and then he got some portion of whatever the lawyers had figured out would he have been entitled to had they fired him. So I would imagine that there was some mutual consent towards maybe 30%. So if he was owed 3 million more, he probably got another 5. He probably takes an 8 million quid. We won't know unless it's disclosed, but I doubt we'll know. And it will be hidden in the accounts in some division that's not really going to be that easy to pick apart. So yeah, he's got some slice of the pie that he was probably looking for. I'd imagine that Stellini, as I said at the start, I'd imagine the fact that Stellini's still there, I'd imagine he's getting, his compensation was probably tied to, as would have been the entire team's, would have been tied to his leaving the club. But I reckon Stellini's been given some bumper pay and then also some incentive to keep him motivated, i.e. you get us to top 4 and we'll give you an extra million or something, That would make sense. That would be the way that I would do it if I was Daniel Levy. If you're not sure whether or not Conte is
here.
Morning, hi Marlon. If you're trying to keep Stellini to give Ryan Mason the support he needs, but you're worried about whether Stellini's got the motivation to help the team rather than be one eye out of the door, you'd pay Stellini an option, right? If you get us the top 4, bro, then we'll give you $1 million quid.
If we get the top 4, Sean, is he going to stay for the next season?
No, surely the plan for next season is Poch or Nagelsmann, whoever doesn't go Real Madrid.
But we know Daniel Levy is likes the cheap options, though, doesn't he?
No, not really. He doesn't like cheap options when it comes to managers. He pays managers a lot.
No, he pays top dollar for the manager, to be fair, because a lot of the time he thinks about.
Poch got a bumper contract.
Yeah.
Stellini will have like a million quid top 4 bonus or something, 2 million quid bonus, whatever. And I'm happy to pay that if it keeps him motivated and it gets the job done. Because you know what? If you finish top 4, you get 60 million quid in your transfer budget more than you would do if you don't. So I'm all for that. I'm glad Conte's out the door. Happy for Stellini to stay. Happy for Ryan Mason to get some more experience.
You imagine a manager bounce off the back of the the Stellini and...
Stellini's only been out of the hot seat for a couple of games.
Yeah, I'm not sure that's not a new bounce environment, is it?
Matt Law...
But I mean, like a reaction out of them.
Go on, Sim.
Matt Law has just tweeted saying it's understood that Conte gave Stellini his blessing to continue on as manager to help Spurs achieve Champions League football. So if anyone's thinking of like a backstab or anything, well, that's the message coming out there. I'm just reading out now. I'm sure there's going to be news breaking all the time.
It's a good opportunity for Stellini, so I'm sure Conte would let him do it with his blessing, or give him his blessing to do it. I don't think Conte wishes bad on the club or anything like that. So I think it makes sense, like I said. But Marlon, what are you feeling?
I'm a bit gutted, but at the same time I can understand. I'm like, why they wait till now, Sunday night, to tell us? But that's typical Spurs. But I think top 4 is gone for us. I completely think it's gone. I don't think Stellini and Mason are up to the challenge. I think it's quite a wrong move, but it is what it is.
But did we really have a choice after what Conte said? I mean, he had to go after that.
But then what's happening? Where any of the players go? They'll still be here. They'll still have the wrong mentality.
Transfer window shut, mate.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. It doesn't matter who's going to be here. Like they literally got another manager out the door.
That's it, Marlon. Yeah.
last time
I completely agree.
Yeah.
I completely agree. But our best chances of getting top 4 was for Conte to go out the door, in my opinion. I
kind of disagree. I kind of think if Mason's coming in, he did turn over trees last time. What difference is it going to make? Like, he's going to be going up against Klopp and Ten Hag as well in the next couple of weeks. It's going to be a tough time. It's going to be tough time.
I don't think we are going to get top 4, but I do think we have more chance of getting top 4 without Conte after he's alienated the players than with Stellini and Mason.
I think the argument is that obviously Stellini and Mason. Stellini's first opportunity was with Marseille, right? When Conte was in the stands, and we saw what Stellini was capable of, and he got us through to that next round, man. It was an impressive performance.
All right, but let's not forget Stellini was in charge when we played Sheffield United as well. So
yeah, don't forget that.
I'm gonna get to that.
Yeah, but Conte was fully focused in that game. That was all Conte, Sheffield United.
But I'm just saying, like, we got good performances from Chelsea as well. We got a good performance out of a positive result, shall I say, and a positive result against West Ham. So that's the reason why I was asking, do you reckon the players will respond to Stellini against Everton away at Goodison under the lights on a Monday night? It's a valid...
Well, let me ask you this. If we're hearing from these players that, they find Conte's training methods repetitive and boring and all these things, is that going to change under Stellini? All of a sudden, we're going to get innovative training methods. So why would they respond?
The reason why I say it is because maybe they got different ideas. You saw what happened with Man City, and they made Eric Dyer play a bit more aggressive, a bit more front-footed, made him go man-to-man. That might have been a tactic they might have wanted to change and try it. And they might have different ideas coming to training. Now it's their time to kind of shine. They might have a different approach. I do agree with you, Sim, but I'm just trying to flip it on
mate, the only way we were going to get a new manager bounce that could actually result in a top 4 was with a new manager.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I don't think I'd be astonished, and I'm happy to be wrong, clearly, but I'll be astonished if there's the reaction that gets us to top 4. Given the environment we're in,
do you think you'll play out the same? Like, no players will get any opportunities. It'll be like more or less the same as before, business as usual. Like,
100%, 100%.
Just chill. Because
you might see Danjuma get some more minutes. I don't know, because I think a lot of that stuff was down to stubbornness on his.
You'll get 15 minutes instead of 5.
Yeah,
this is what I'm asking, because it was like,
you ask any girl though, like what's the difference between 5 minutes and 15, and it counts.
Well, you never know. Could make a difference. 15 minutes could be a little bit of difference. Could be a bit more.
Yeah.
You don't know. And it's against Everton as well. Everton, where he was meant to go. Who knows? Danjuma might get a little break there. I'm looking
at our next 5 games, and I mean, I can see one win. One win. Everton away, Brighton at home, Bournemouth at home, Newcastle away, Man U at home, Liverpool away.
Yeah, it's a wrap. It's a wrap.
Can I ask you guys a question though? Would you have, if it meant paying like 25 million quid now, right, and then that money being taken out of whatever budget's available, and that budget obviously is significantly influenced by where you finish anyway? Would you have paid that money to get someone, not to suggest that it means that not getting him now means you can't get him in the summer, but a Nagelsmann or a Poch, if it meant that they could come through the door tonight rather than Mason and Stellini, so. would you pay 25 million for it? No?
I don't think I would. I think, look, there could be a chance of getting top 4 if one of these guys come in, but I'd rather they just come in, start of the season, have their own plans, have as much money as they can to build that team, and then we go from there. I think maybe even a year out of Europe might even do us good, but we will be in Europa League. So
do you know,
we're going to be in one of the European competitions, yeah, for sure.
Like Sean being the finance guy, the timing of this from the season ticket kind of thing is a bit mental as well, isn't it? Like the renewals are coming up again, and this.
Well, they've been out already, haven't they, or not? I'm not sure.
I'm not sure,
well,
but either way, it's like, what on earth are you doing? Like, you've already got a load of people on kind of limbo as to like, am I renewing or not? Because I'm getting a bit tired of the last few years now of how this club's being run.
I think they'll always find 60,000. They've still got 70,000. I'm still like 70,000th or something on the wait list, and I still get offered season tickets at the end of the summer. So like, I'm pretty sure that they'll be, whoever gives them up they'll still be. Daniel Levy's got that stuff figured out. Even after the debacle, I think it was at Wolves. the game before Nottingham Forest. I forget which game it was. There was like on that Thursday. Oh, sorry, it was after the Milan lost in the Champions League. On Thursday morning, there was like 6,000 seats available on the ticket exchange. By Friday evening, they were all gone.
Yeah.
So even the season ticket holders that put their tickets up for sale, they were all snapped up by somebody else. And Daniel Levy actually made money out of it because he makes money out of the season ticket, and then he takes 10% of the resale of the ticket anyway. So he actually makes more money out of people that are season ticket holders listing their tickets on the exchange. He takes a few quid for them as well.
I got offered
he's a winner either way.
Tickets at the beginning of this season, like around me. That's because people are just getting, I don't know why they're getting fed up or whatever. But I just think like when we had the fiasco of Nuno going, and that created a bit of a hysteria around the club. And then obviously we got Conte in to pave over the cracks again, leading back to the guy's points about, some of these players do need blaming. A lot of them have been there for a long time and shafted many managers now, whether you call them elite or not. I think like there's a lot of fans out there, and I'm probably more pointing towards the Enoch out group, to be honest. But there's more of this conversation of like, fans are getting, I'm not going to like swear or anything, but like they're getting fed up, mate, of this continuous circus. And I'm just baffled, like right now, to be like, you're a month away from season ticket renewals and stuff like this, and you've done this again. And I know Conte's to blame in this instance, in the sense like, the way he's come out, but he was
the catalyst for it. But in my opinion, Daniel Levy was responsible for the entire environment.
He's responsible for everything.
Here's a question: who's more impatient? Was it the fans or was it Conte? Who ended up being more impatient?
Oh wow, that's a really good question.
Probably us. Let's be honest. We've given we started to quit on Mourinho after 14 months. We quit on Conte after 14 months. We just about gave Poch a year. It was only because he got the full season. But I think we're to blame for a lot of it. Let's be honest. All of us kind of got to a point with Conte where the football shit is this, that, and the other. But we gave him no time. We've not given him anything. We got the 6-7 months out of him at the beginning of last season. He got us top 4. And then I think all our expectation was, we're going to be fighting for the title this year. But Arsenal kind of messed everything up.
Marlon, it fell apart because of I think the football was a problem, right? If you've got a manager that's playing good football, and I made this point earlier on Sabba's channel. Like when people talk about the lack of trophies, the Enoch out fans, whatever, that say the trophies, they're the biggest problems. When I asked them, like, in my lifetime, or at least in Levy's lifetime at Tottenham, when did you feel most settled, most happy, most excited? And they mention in no specific order 3 managers, right? Pochettino, Martin Jol, or Harry Redknapp.
But there's a difference.
None of those managers won a trophy, nobody mentions Juan de Ramos Ball. Nobody mentions George Graham.
But there's a difference to what you just said. All those managers have lasted more than 18 months,
right?
And that's
because they played good football. Yeah, I think
Ramos,
that's the first reason why people are getting fed up with Tottenham.
Ramos wasn't really given a chance. Look, he won something, and then he had to sell Berbatov and Key. He was doomed to foul. So that's why no one ever talked about Ramos.
And that's fine, but the football that he played at the time was awful. The reason why I think fans are more likely to get...
It wasn't that bad. I think because if you look at Poch's first year, the football was terrible too. Poch's last 18 months, the football was terrible as well. And everyone just forgets about that. They only remember the middle, right?
But Redknapp and Martin Jol was exciting football. And the point I'm making more than anything else is I think that the initial catalyst of why people lose patience is the lack of good football. I think that is the first and foremost. To a lot of fans, it's I want to see. For me personally, the bedrock should be good football, and everything should build from there. Conte doesn't deliver that. Second of all, he may have been given more time if it hadn't been for the incredibly poor March, like the start of March. We're still in the same month, but from the 1st of March until now, we've gone out of all competitions, and the first competition against Nottingham Forest might have been forgiven had the FA Cup and the Champions League gone a little bit differently, because ultimately in all of those competitions all season, we haven't played and faced a tough team. And the variance that has taken place in all of those competitions meant that there was never an easier season for us to go deep in any competition than this one. We haven't played a tough team in any of them. Even the 3 teams in our group stage they're not really Champions League teams, right? So if Conte can't do that, and everyone who's like Enoch out is referencing the lack of trophies, and yet we give up the best luck of the draw ever in really poor circumstances. I think that's a catalyst there for like a snowball effect of people giving up very quickly.
I completely agree with you. Like the cup competitions this year are a massive, massive blot against Conte and against his tenure here. 100%. The route that we could have had, and our name should be in the semi-final or the final this year of the FA Cup, no doubt about it. But I mean, in terms of style of play, I mean, I think we all enjoyed the football the last 10 games of last season. We were scoring goals, we were attacking well, we were on the front foot. We were playing really good football. Fast forward to this season, the football hasn't been great. And from the start of the season, I'm just like, all right, it's going to click soon. It's going to click soon. It never seemed to click. But I think first of all, Spurs fans gave up on Conte before Conte gave up on Spurs, in my opinion. And I think the fans were a bit harsh on Conte, especially when you're looking at all the different circumstances that's gone into Spurs this season. The fitness coach Ventroni passing away, 2 of his friends passing away, all the injuries as well that we've had this season. We've had one game this year where we've had a fit squad, as well as we should have been looking. I know we didn't talk about it in the summer, but we should have been looking to upgrade Hugo Lloris. We should have upgraded Eric Dyer. And how many points, just them 2, have we given away?
At least 10, 12, 15 points. Yeah.
Like if we had a good goalkeeper this season and we had a good replacement for Eric Dyer, where would we be in the league this season? And would everyone be complaining?
Whose fault is that, then?
Huh?
Whose fault is that?
Well, that's the players' fault. That's those players' fault, right? Like you can't manage individual mistakes. And Hugo Lloris has made 4 or 5 mistakes that led to goals. I can remember West Ham was the initial catalyst, and then he went on a run of doing every other game for like 6 on the bounce. And I think Eric Dyer was also personally responsible for probably 5 or 6 goals that we conceded. So I would 100% take that point on board, Ben.
If you bring in another manager,
how many points do you reckon it is? Like
maybe 9 points, 12, 10, 11 points, something around there. Yeah.
Add 9 points onto our tally now. Where are we?
Yeah, third, probably third.
Yeah, but closer. We're probably in a title conversation, like Man United are, kind of thing. We're like, like lagging favourites.
And that's probably why because that's where Conte, and that's what really keeps Conte motivated, being in those sort of positions. And obviously he gets frustrated, and we all know he gets frustrated when he's not challenging for league titles and things like that. So he ultimately will get frustrated with the elements holding him back from not doing that when it doesn't happen. And that's essentially what came to the boil pretty much in his frustration. You could see in his press conference, I feel.
Yeah, I agree. I just wonder whether or not, like the, he had the chance in January. He was asked after the Aston Villa game, and that was the tail end of seeing Eric Dyer make those mistakes. After seeing Hugo Lloris make those mistakes, didn't Navas join Nottingham Forest in January? Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, he did.
Mm-hmm.
Right, so there was an opportunity there to go and get a world-class goal, or like something like a classy goalkeeper, and also. When he was asked around the central defence, did he think there was a problem after the Aston Villa game? He said, no, I think this defence is good enough. So, look, I'm not saying that maybe he's.
I don't think he actually thought the defence was good enough. I thought he was just saying that in the press.
But fine, but we're speculating on that. And people that say he's not going to throw a player under the bus or a team under the bus in the press, we've seen recently that that's not the case, that he's very happy to throw players and teams under the bus.
When he was on board, he didn't do that.
Yeah.
Well, he did it with Jed Spence, didn't he? The day one, Jed Spence comes in, a 19-year-old. I know, but I'm saying, like, it's not like he hasn't got history in being very willing to raise his concerns, even at the expense of players' confidence. Because if you're Jed Spence and you walk in as I'm not sure how old he is, 21. He walks into the team, and day one, your manager that you're trying to play for says, "Well, I approved it, but he wasn't my guy." I don't know. Like, we can speculate, but if you take him on his word.
On the other hand, he's calling Eric Dyer, but he could be the best defender the world has ever seen. And he said that about Davinson Sanchez as well. It's just like, he doesn't actually think that. He's just trying to motivate them and get them on side and get them playing well.
Well, his press conferences if he's an elite manager, the one area of his game that needs to work on is press management, right? Because to me, it always comes across as weird and unhelpful.
Let's get through some of these.
Go on. No, go on.
Well, let's just get through some of these super chats we've got here. El Dante, says, I said on here, Stellini should manage until the end of the season. No one else thought he would. Here we are. I'm very happy Conte has gone. And even when Stellini took charge for the very first time, people were saying, oh, Conte out, Stellini in. Well, everyone's got their wish now, don't they?
Yeah, would be. It is a bit of a litmus test to see how that's going to go, because everyone said, you know, we upped our game when Stellini was in charge and Conte was out for his surgery and stuff like that. And now I guess there's going to be a bit of an experiment going on to see how we do these last 10 games under Stellini. But I don't know. I just get the feeling that maybe we might see a bit more energy and intensity in the players. Maybe they'll get a bit of kick up the butt in that sense. But in terms of tactics and stuff like that, I don't see much changing.
Yeah, I agree with that. Anyone else want to have their say on Stellini?
No, but that was my point originally. My point was, and I know it's not a new manager bounce, but the fact that they responded when Conte was gone, I think that was the argument. I think that's why fans got on board with it, because when you saw us against Man City, there was an actual shift, a big change.
A bit more freedom, wasn't there, Ash, as well?
Say again?
A bit more freedom as well.
Yeah, exactly. And that's what fans got behind ultimately, because it was the performance of Man City then when fans were like, oh my goodness, look. And obviously, Conte is very stubborn with his ways. He's very meticulous. To me, he seems like a taskmaster, a hard taskmaster. And that can be very draining on certain individuals. Not all individuals, because some individuals like routine, but you've got different players, you've got different personalities, and they all need different things. So I just think that that authoritarian wasn't there anymore. It's almost like, you know, the head schoolmaster, also the main teacher's gone, and then you get the supply teacher. You could kind of relax a little piece, you know what I'm saying? You could kind of just, but you're not, you know, at the back of your mind, they can still call your parents, so you still kind of fix up. But you just get a little freedom. You know what I'm saying? I think that's what it was.
Definitely, their parents definitely got called after Sheffield United.
Yeah, 100%. United, he's like, no, I'm gonna have to get mad on them because. But then again, I don't know if he's got that kind of side to him where they respect him. I know he can get angry with them, but I don't know if he's got that side.
I think they do. I think they do.
Even he said they're gonna see me on my rough now. They're gonna see the angry Stellini. I'm like, yeah, shut up, man. No one believes you, bro.
The thing is, Ash, I think like if we get off to a good start under him and we have a few good results, then I think we can keep the momentum going. But if it goes wrong from the start, then it's going to spiral out of control because they'll know he's not here till the end of the season.
100. But how many of those players were playing under like Poch? And because you remember there was a section of the players that got Conte the sack, or they said they stopped playing for him. So how many of those players were there when Poch was there? Because in the Southampton game, we had Fraser Forster in goal. We had Romero, Eric Dyer. It's just Dyer, isn't it, right?
Dyer, Kane, and Son.
Dyer, Kane, and Son, right? So everyone's saying it's the players that, you know, got Conte the sack. But to be fair, there's quite a few new players there on the actual squad. You see what I'm trying to say? I don't know if I'm making sense. But
you are making sense. But I think it's like once like a mentality gets instilled in the club, once something's like just seeped into the ethos of the club and things don't change. New players can come in and the same mentality can stay. You need a rub down from top to bottom.
But how does that change? Am I guessing that your point there, Ben, is that the owners needs to change it from the top?
Yeah.
But how does let's just go dream world for a second and say one of the losers from the Man United bid comes in and says, here's 5 billion. Can you run away, please, Daniel Levy? And they say, okay, cool, we'll hand over. What changes? Nothing changes necessarily with the
mentality in a football club, but I'm not. But I think that you need to get out a lot of the terrible players that are there. Even the players that might be good enough for the bench, like the Davises that have been hanging around for a while. I think you need to gut the whole lot.
But where do you sell if European football is broken? European football is bankrupt. Right? It's a very rarely spoken about issue, and it's one of the reasons why. Not that I'd necessarily support a European Super League, just to save Tottenham's ability to misspend money and then have a secondary market to offload those players into. But absent that, you know, it's like Brighton don't misspend their money. They have like a Moneyball system that comes in and it's very transitional, but they also offload their players into other Premier League teams where the money is. Tottenham aren't going to ever be able to offload the 8 players, the £250 million we have that's on loan, there's no one in France or Spain or Portugal or Italy or Germany or Holland that can afford it, absent about half a dozen clubs. And so I think it's a consequence of mismanagement of other leagues that we're finding the collateral damage of. And I don't necessarily know how changing the owners has suddenly solves for that.
All right, Sean, one question though. Like
You're right.
do you believe in a project manager? Like, are you behind that idea of a project manager?
Yeah.
So could we not extend that from a project manager to a project behind the ownership? So when I say a project's the wrong word, but a change of environment, a change of ethos.
You're a brand manager, a philosophy.
Yeah, but because Poch always talks about philosophy, and he did, to be fair, do a lot of work in changing our philosophy, coming all the way down to our academy. So do you think like a new owner possibly could could give us a new project, a new start, a new fresh? And then obviously nothing happens over 1 season, 2 seasons, as we all know. It's going to be 5 to 10 seasons ahead. Yeah. And then the new ownership are going to come in, just like when Enoch first came in. They're going to have their own mission statement. They're going to have their own kind of vision of where they see the club in 5 or 10 years. And they may possibly, I'm not saying they are going to do this, but they might communicate that with the fans, because at the moment, the communication, as you're seeing right now, 10:30 at night, we're all up now. We're going to probably be up till 11, 12 o'clock discussing this debate. When
it's
really
11:30 at night, mate. You haven't moved your clock forward, have you, on your watch?
Oh, he's had a mare. He's had an absolute mare.
That's 11:30 or 12. 11:30 or 12. That's what I meant. Anyway, moving on.
But to take your point, yeah, I hear what you're saying. And yes, listen, like, of course, mate, you get a new owner in. That's what you hope for, of course. And we all want that. I want that. And I know I'm given the title of like Levy's godchild or whatever. I'm not. Like, I'm happy. I want there to be a new owner. But I'm just saying that nothing necessarily changes. Yes, it can change, and I hope it does. But nothing around the areas at Tottenham where we always continuously screw up.
All I'm asking for is a plan, Sean. Is that too much to ask?
We just need we need from top to bottom a synced up strategy from a footballing standpoint that everyone's on the same page with.
Exactly.
And at the moment, we just don't have
6
that.
of us here. Why don't we start one?
Let's go, Simon.
Sean, question
with
for you. Yeah, Sean, question though. Do you not think Newcastle's mentality has changed this season? And look what they're doing, and that's come from top to bottom.
I think they made a really good start into their new ethos, but it's happens to have been helped by a lot of money spent and every single one of those players hitting the ground running. Tottenham has spent more money than Newcastle since Newcastle's new owners have come in. We've just misspent the money like we always do. Yeah, and my point is that
they haven't even spent a crazy amount.
Yeah,
they haven't spent that much money. But I don't. But listen, mate. I said on the show with Sim yesterday, like none of us are like. It's different if you were like someone who was a master of psychology, like you understand the minds of men, and you're someone who just trains, Tiger Woods, how to get from tee to green in as little time as possible, as few shots as possible. You're just dealing with one particular mind, one particular person, and your job is trying to figure that out. But the intricacies, the nuances, the amount of variables that are affecting the entirety of Tottenham Hotspur is so or any club, and the overall league in general, Newcastle United, to your point, in general, who I got no idea what has happened at Newcastle to turn them from second bottom to fourth or third or whatever in 1.5 seasons. But I guarantee you it's not just the 150 million quid that they spent.
No,
it can't be.
This is what I'm saying.
There's more that's going on there, and I don't know what that is. And I don't think any of us will know.
But would you say in-house they've got it? That's why they are be able to get to the final this year and things like that, because they've seen a mental change in the club, which is then turned onto the pitch.
It seems to be a synced up strategy. Getting Eddie Howe in, playing the football they want, getting all these young players who fit their system that Howe wants to play. At Tottenham, we just don't do things like that.
How much influence?
Everyone of that whole club is on board. Fans, to players, to owners. Everyone's singing off the same hymn sheet. We haven't.
How
had
much
that
influence
for
does Daniel
ages.
Levy have in the intricacies, the day-to-day influence that he has with any individual player? We heard from Emerson Royale.
Bro,
that Antonio
did you
Conte
watch
doesn't
All
have
or
any.
Nothing? Did you watch
Yeah.
All or Nothing?
Where was Danny
Daniel
Rose
Levy's
going?
at the training ground every single day. He's like he's hovering
He is.
over everyone. He's
is.
meeting
He's
with the players. He
Right,
has
fair
a
enough.
massive influence. He has
Fair
a
enough,
I'm
massive
fair
going to see
influence.
Daniel now. I'm going to go see Daniel
Yeah.
now.
What sort?
Fair enough,
What sort
fair
of
enough.
player should be able to say that? Like Danny Rose should be able to
Absolutely
come out and
right.
say, "I'm going to
You're
see
absolutely right.
Daniel." Actually,
You're
your
absolutely
manager
right.
is the one telling you stuff. That's where you should be going.
I 100% agree with you on that. 100% agree with you. But when your manager, in case of Emerson Royale, that said this not 2 years ago, but last week, Emerson Royale came out to the press and said, "Look, it's Conte's opinion about our mentality, but to be honest, I've never really spoken that frequently with him. I don't have a close relationship." I'm paraphrasing, right? But
Yeah.
that's a problem too. And this is why I think that we need a manager to come in who does have a close relationship, to be able to make sure that a player who doesn't like what he's told by the manager also has an open door communication where they can figure out the reasons why, rather than saying, "Well, I don't like you. I don't speak to you anyway. I'm going to go knock on the door of the chairman." Like that. That's a problem. It shouldn't be. There should be no easy access to the guy at the top. He shouldn't have anything to do with any of that stuff. And I agree with that. That's a problem with Daniel Levy, but it's also a problem with the manager. Access is a two-way street.
Let's keep going with the super chats. Azad Hamid is saying, "I'm so happy. Where is the party, boys? Let me know." I think it's over at Sean's, the party tonight. The Conte sacking party, that's for sure.
I ain't celebrating.
You're not happy?
Lazy 8 saying Stellini's staying on because everyone knows this episode has been about Conte's lack of fortitude to see his obligation. What do you say to this one, Si?
Yeah, I think for me, I'm still partially disappointed, to be honest, because I think we do this with every manager. There's a bit of an excitement at the beginning, and I think we all get behind him. One reason or another, it's just always not working out. But for me, I think for me, I was always a big backer of Conte throughout this whole season, but after probably till maybe November last year, it started to get really repetitive, and systematic, of no changes or late substitutions. I always said with my dad, after every game, even if we won, it was I didn't enjoy that. I just felt on edge all the time. It was just horrible to watch it. It was a struggle. But yeah, for me, it was especially in the moments where you feel like if we do something now, we could swing this game or do something really, really interesting right now. It just never came about, never happened. And that's why I think can't say the name properly, I haven't got my glasses, but whoever's just done that super chat, I think that's exactly what it is. But it's just the stubbornness just started pissing me off too much, to be honest. If that's what I feel like, it probably annoyed me more, maybe because of the long, boring journey that I have to have every time going to the games and stuff, and feeling that I bring my energy, my passion, my enthusiasm every game, and I wasn't seeing it back. And that is not just the manager's fault. This is a distinction of players who are pretty average across the board, to be honest, bar a few, and consistently get away with it. And I was having enough of it. And I always said, I'm not coming next week, but I always ended up doing it because I love my croissant in wood green and I love my eggs Florentine and I like seeing you guys.
I want to try that one day as well.
Honestly, come anytime. It's brilliant. Charlie's wood green, shout out. But literally to that point, it's I go almost, it's almost it was like a day out just to get me away from cleaning the pizza oven, Ben, or something like this, being showered at and stuff from the missus or whatever. And I think it's it got so repetitive and so tedious and boring to watch and horrible to watch that's when you start switching to be hang on a minute, I've backed this guy. It's gone on long enough. Now it's starting to get into my head too much, and I don't feel like going. I go because I'm a Spurs fan and I kind of have to, but I feel like I don't want to go, and that's not what it should be about. And back to Sean's great point earlier about this ethos of managers that brought entertainment. And yeah, don't get me wrong, I want trophies, But I'd love to go to a game of football and actually watch some decent, entertaining football, like constant pressure up front, not sitting back, waiting for we're at home. Not majority of the time we're at home and we just sit back. We let the pressure come on and we concede the goals and we never get it back. I don't want that anymore. And honestly, I don't know what's going to happen next year. I don't know what's going to happen this summer. It's going to be another 6-7 months of nonsense rumors, probably. And next manager is still probably going to have the same crap players and the same ethos in the club. I don't know where we're going from this. And it's this whole constant merry-go-round. And it's just, I want to say many words right now, but I'm trying not to.
Paratici's future is up in the air as well right now, isn't it?
Yeah.
I mean,
gotta be. We don't even know if he's going to be in jail or not.
Juventus. It's not difficult, is it? It's not like he's gone scouting. He's bought 2 players that Juventus needed to shaft off, and they're great players. But other than that, I don't actually fully blame him. I guarantee he's probably had a very interesting, intricate list, like he has at most of the clubs that he's been at before. And they've probably just been ignored. And we go, no, actually, we'll just go and get so-and-so on loan or whatever.
I'm more worried about his managerial philosophies, mate. Every manager that he's tried to bring in, even the ones that were suggested and then were walked away from under public pressure, none of them, they were all pragmatic football managers, right? And that to me is a problem. Like I say, I genuinely think that, boring football that equals success is tolerant, whatever. People will be tolerant of it, but as soon as it doesn't work, people go, nah, not working. Entertainment football breeds patience, and patience breeds success. But for me, if you've got a director of football who has this Italian philosophy of pragmatism at the forefront, that's a problem when you have a fan base that demands success. And I go back to the point: most fans will reminisce more around Pochettino ball, Joel ball, and Redknapp ball than they would over Graham ball or Ramos ball. So whilst they demand trophies, they actually preferred unsuccessful periods that entertained them. And if you have a director of football that is the antithesis of that, then I think that's an issue. And especially when you have the sort of Damocles hanging over his neck, because we don't know what's going to happen in the next week. It could be tomorrow, in 2 months or 2 years. But at some point, there might be that sword coming down saying you can't work in Europe or the world anymore. I think that Daniel Levy should take these next 10 weeks to really think very long and hard whether Paratici is the right guy for the job, just like he has made the decision around CONTE.
Would you say that's bad recruitment on Levy's side?
100%. Yeah, Levy's fucked up on sorry for swearing. Levy's messed up on so many levels.
Tottenham DNA.
Yeah. I'm not well versed in the directors of the football around the world that have that correct DNA. I don't know who those people are, but I don't think Paratici is probably the right guy either. So
for me, for me personally, I agree with Sai. For me, it was after the World Cup, because before the World Cup, we were told, the players, I'm reserving them 45 minutes. We got to, rest 45 minutes, then we attack and then we rest. So I had in my head,
Gareth Bale.
No, I don't know what that was. I don't know.
Whose accent was that?
Always random accents with me. So yeah, I'll do another one. They'll be like, so basically, 45 minutes. That's what I need. All right. So, but basically,
here comes trouble.
Brian Daiglesman. 45 minutes, and there was no more World Cup. What are we reserving? There was no more, but yet we still saw the 45 minutes. 45 minutes of good football, or not good football, but us pressing or us working harder than usual, a bit more energy, and then the other 45 minutes it disappeared. And there's no World Cup. So what's the excuse now? And that's when I kind of lost my patience a little bit. I don't understand. I don't see this with other teams. I don't remember other Spurs sides having 45 minutes of greatness. And
I've never heard of it before.
I've never heard of it. It's weird to me. That's what I'm saying to you, my brother. It's weird. I don't understand. I don't get it. So that's when I lost it. Yeah,
welcome, Brian. Welcome.
Yeah, well, I heard there's a bit of news that's broken. I thought I'd just come and show my face. Just another day in paradise at the shit show that is Tottenham Hotspur, really, isn't it?
Exactly. Give me your initial reaction, initial thoughts.
Well, mate, you know what? Obviously, everyone's been filming a bit today and doing a bit of streaming and being on their channels or others, and just going to bed, relaxing, getting ready for work tomorrow. And then my WhatsApp groups just went mental, going, he's gone. I was like, what are you talking about? He's gone. And then obviously the press I mean, to release it this late at night and everything, who does this? Listen, we all know the sacking was coming. Whether people believed he deserved it or not, that's open to huge debate. The timing's just weird for me, and to tell you the truth, I'm just very weird that Stellini's still here. I find it really, really puzzling that him and Paratici are still here. If it was me, I'd have cleaned house completely. It's just do you know what? As I said,
go with who instead,
mate. Do you know what, Sean? I don't really care anymore. I don't really care. This is the way I am right now. It's
nothing will change, Brian.
The way I'm at, you look at it with Stellini, Sean. Has there been a bust up with Stellini? Are they still close? Is Stellini now going to be these players through my mate under the bus, or how are they?
Come on, Occam's raise is always the easiest, right? Like
I've got no idea what you just said, Sean. Speak English to me.
Occam's razor is like a philosophical idea that essentially the most logical solution is the most likely. The most logical solution of this one is that Stellini and Conte are still mates, but the club have made it financially incentivized for Stellini to be on board, to be a part of the transition, but that they don't want to make a rash judgment on the new manager, and they've got to figure out what they want to do with Paratici or something like that. They're going to hold out for the 10 weeks. They've got 10 weeks to go. Then they've got the summer. They'll figure out the manager over the course of time, but they've kept Stellini because it worked for a little period with Mason. But in order to keep Stellini's mind on the job, he's been incentivized that if he does well, if we get the job done and finish fourth, he'll get paid a nice bumper payout. That keeps the relationship between everyone sweet. That to me is the most obvious and most logical rationale. I don't think it has to be that Stellini and Conte have fallen out for this to have happened.
No, I'm not saying they have. I'm saying I'm looking at it. I just can't see how this works. And people saying Stellini, it works so much better under Stellini. Sheffield United under Stellini. There was other poor performances under Stellini. Yes, we had 2 games where we kept 2 clean. Whoop-de-doo. Whoop-de-goddamn-do. I honestly would have rather seen Mason. Do you know what? There you go, Mason. Just do what you got to do. Listen, we're in freefall. We are in absolute freefall. I said before Conte went, whether Conte stayed or he didn't, top 4 we ain't getting. I just think with the run of games we're getting, it ain't happening. And we're just in it. We are just again in another mess. It's another manager. It's another shit show. It's another, has he been backed with, has he not? Whichever way you want to look at it, in financial or players coming in. It's just been another 18-month experiment that's gone tits up, hasn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that's on Levy for sure.
Can't see anything apart from that. But let's keep going with these. This one says from Moss Chops. Apparently Nagelsmann is on gardening leave until the end of the season, which means Bayern are still paying his wages. So I bet Daniel Levy has him in place already. I mean, there's been links with Nagelsmann to Real Madrid today. There's been links with Poch to Real Madrid. I mean, is it just a case of one of these two, the one that doesn't go to Real Madrid?
It's like a domino,
I
isn't
hope
it?
so.
Yeah, Battle of Madrid.
That's best case scenario, I would say.
Yeah, wishful thinking.
Amarim's the most expensive. He's going to cost 30 million euros right now, or 22.5 million euros in the summer.
I don't even want Amarim.
And you got to deal with that. Yeah, I don't know if you do want to deal with him, but even if there was an argument for it, it's 22.5 million quid out of the summer budget. So
he said he's
Sumin, I just want to say, do you know what you said about like Ben said at the beginning with Nagelsmann and Poch, whoever doesn't get the job, we get. How embarrassing is that for us? I hear fans saying, "Oh, the people that are bidding for Liverpool and United, the people that don't get it should bid for us." We're Tottenham Hotspur. I know we're not Real Madrid status, but that's what we're pinning our hopes on at the moment. The one that doesn't get the Real Madrid job, let's get him. This is what we've
Real
become.
Madrid status.
Real Madrid,
This is what this is. It's.
Well, I think it's always been a case of below the pecking order of these teams, and nothing's changed there.
We need to. In my, I'm just saying the words "break the bank" and "leave" in the same sentence, and I realise what an oxymoron that is.
Not when it comes to managers.
I would do. You might have a point there, Sean. Actually, I'll take that back. You might have a point there. But when it comes to it, I would. whoever it is, get him now. This is what Tuchel, what happened, whether it was...
What if Nagelsmann and Poch are both saying they want to wait till the summer?
Exactly.
Yeah.
But they can wait till the summer, but say, listen, you don't come in immediately, be our job, sign the contract now, and you start in the summer. Get it done.
Maybe because
in January, when we were going for Skriniar, we got Rodon. If we went back that January, or we got a Kim Min-jae or a Bastoni this January and said, right, he's coming in the summer, I, for one, would have been delighted. You know he's coming. There's no if, but, maybe, let's try and get into... We have a direction, and then that gives Nagelsmann... let's just use Nagelsmann at the moment, his gardening leave to do what he needs to do these few months, but take a look at what's happening at Tottenham. So when it comes to the first day of his job, he knows what he wants to do. Not let's wait till the summer, then start the search.
But that might happen. That might have happened anyway, right?
Could be.
It's a bit like
Nagelsmann. Who would you prefer, Nagelsmann or Poch?
You ask Nagelsmann. Whilst Levy's here, I don't want Poch anywhere near this club. The second he leaves, and if we get new owners and they say Poch come back and finish the job, I'll welcome him back with open arms. Just not with Levy.
Ash, who do you want?
Ideally, not a Nagelsmann, but because
are we not worried at all why he got sacked by Bayern Munich so suddenly like this?
I think
they
wanted Tuchel for a long time, and I think when he became available, they just kind of snatched at it and they just used any excuse to get Nagelsmann out. To be fair, because I mean, I know like the gap normally is like 10 or 15 points between Munich and Borussia Dortmund, but I think maybe because Borussia Dortmund are 1 point ahead of them, and they saw it as an opportunity, a bit like, to see it as an opportunity to kind of grab him. And then, he's got experience of winning the Champions League as well. So maybe it was just a quick snap decision just to get rid of Tuchel. So it's more about Tuchel and less about actual Nagelsmann himself.
There's been cases with players, though, like falling out with Neuer, freezing Sabitzer out. I think there's been a few more as well. There's been a few situations with players at Bayern Munich with Nagelsmann. I mean, does it worry you, Sib?
No, because I know that he's been brilliant beforehand, like at Leipzig and Hoffenheim, smaller clubs which were more of a project, where he brought his innovative methods and was really great. When you look at his job in total at Bayern Munich, I think the results speak for themselves more than anything else as to how good of a job he was doing there. Even obviously it started to go wrong a bit, but I always think when a manager as young as him goes into a super club at Bayern Munich, when you have established people like Müller, Neuer, all these kind of people, it's gonna rub some people the wrong way. He's going to come with new ideas. They're going to have people who think, no, it should be done this way, and he's going to be coming in with this fresh approach, trying to shake things up, and it's going to rub some people the wrong way, obviously. And also, so I'm not worried about that. I think that's what we need at Tottenham, to be honest. And I would say as well, apparently there was also an issue with
I thought we were getting that with Conte and Jose.
No, we were. We were getting older methods that were proven to have worked, but Nagelsmann comes with big, fresher methods. Yeah, that's definitely true. We definitely have that. But when it comes to Nagelsmann as well, apparently there was a situation with his girlfriend that she worked for a newspaper and she was leaking some buying information to a newspaper as well, which is why Nagelsmann broke up with her a day after he was sacked. So there was that was a personal situation as well that obviously affected things for him. So for me, I think they're letting go of a good thing, in my opinion, Bayern Munich, and we have to take advantage of that, in my opinion. This guy won 8 out of 8 Champions League games. He was only 1 point behind in the title. Didn't he win the title last season anyway? So he's proven he can do that. He'll come with innovative methods, innovative training methods. He'll come up with fresh ideas for the players. He'll really mix things up. Obviously, the established players, they'll have to have kind of. He might rub things the wrong way with them, but he'll really do wonders, I think, for the younger players and the players trying to find their way. I think it'll just be a brilliant appointment, in my opinion. I think we have to get him.
The only issue that I have. To add to that stat. Do you remember now it is confirmed that it will be another season since 2018-19 where we haven't gone a whole season with the manager.
Yeah, I know, but that's just another. That's just like a statistic that, with respect, Dan, Brian, that's just a let's quickly throw a nail at Daniel Levy, right?
It's not, mate. It's
right, and he deserves it.
That is fair to throw out.
This is my whole point about your three managers earlier, though. When you mentioned
there's no other football club that does this apart from Watford.
He didn't. Daniel Levy didn't manufacture this situation, Brian. It was Conte.
I'm not
that
saying he
manufactured this
did, Sean.
situation.
I'm saying a fact that since 2018-19,
It's coming from an angle, though, isn't it? It's coming with an
not at
angle.
all. No, it's
Come
not
on,
at all.
It is.
Yeah,
But you're the one that's just
Sean.
No.
Regardless of if it's coming for an angle or not, it's beside the point. It's a fact of the matter. It's a fact of the matter.
It's an embarrassing fact.
It's an embarrassing.
It's not by Daniel Levy's design. This is by.
I didn't mention Daniel Levy's name.
No, but this is a nail that you guys are trying to throw at Daniel Levy. But it's been designed by the guy. Maybe not you, Brian, but Ben and Sim. You just said yes. The nail should be thrown that direction.
Correct.
This isn't by his design.
Mourinho says for a cup final. That is his design.
What are you talking about?
Antonio Conte has constructed this
with proper team players.
And who sacked? Sean, who sacked Mourinho 6 days for a cup final?
Well, this is again, that's a straw man argument. The conversation
really, but this is all part of the same
conversation right now. Is about
a series of events.
Yeah,
the conversation's about. Brian just made a point that was aimed at trying to suggest that there's a shit show going on at Tottenham, and it's a common denominator that another season's gone by without a series of without one consistent manager, which is aimed to make a point.
Yeah,
but this is the manager's design. Well, he's making the point that Daniel Levy doesn't have control of his club, but this is Antonio Conte that's designed this. It's a mechanic. Come on, guys, let's put your biases to one side.
But that's not been the case for every single one, has it? Because every single one.
It's not about every single one. This is about this particular one. This is the point that he was making about this particular one. Come on, guys, you're being partisan.
No. The fact that we haven't had a manager finish season is representative of how we run the club.
Yeah. The way the club is run is
my point is the fact that we haven't that stat for me is representative of how the club has been run since Poch's sacking.
Okay, well, I can throw a statistic that's based in this specific example, but make a broader point. There's an often misspoken statistic going around that Daniel Levy, the average tenure, we're on manager number 15 in Daniel Levy's tenure. This is the reason why he's an absolutely terrible chairman. But in actual fact, it's not 15 managers, it's 12 managers, because those people that say that statistic include 3, managers that were there for a month here, a month there: Clive Allen, David Pleat, and Ryan Mason. So it's not 15, it's 12. But they say it in a way to suggest that Daniel Levy has this horrendous track record of short-term managers. But in actual fact, the average tenure of a manager in the Premier League across all 50 Premier League teams that have been in the Premier League and 270 managers, the average tenure is 2 years and 3 days. And when you look at Daniel Levy's tenure, and under the average manager of his team, it's 1 year and 11 months. There's a difference of 30 days. So the argument that is presented that Daniel Levy has this ridiculously short track record of an average managerial tenure is absolute nonsense. There's very negligible difference.
Wait, Sean. When you consider that Poch stayed for 5 years, Redknapp stayed for 4 years. And Martin.
Let me make the average tenure. Manchester United, Sir Alex Ferguson, 21 years. Arsene Wenger, 22 years. Joe Kinnear, 10 years. David Moyes at Everton, 10 years. Harry Redknapp at West Ham, 8 years. Klopp at Liverpool, 8 years. Pep Guardiola at Manchester City, 7 years and counting. Like you factor that all. You take away the top 2 managers at Tottenham. You take away the top 7 managers in the Premier League era. The average Premier League manager tenure is a lot shorter than the average Premier League or the average Tottenham manager within the Daniel Levy era. So
but sure, I could flip that back on you and say that's because when our managers don't succeed,
it's a nonsense
they just get rewarded for failure. The big clubs, when their managers aren't doing well, they get rid of them and get a new person.
It's a nonsense point, just like the idea to say that this situation with Antonio Conte is somehow Daniel Levy's fault, even though Antonio Conte has manufactured this system. All I was pointing out was that you shouldn't be throwing this as a dart at Daniel Levy when on this particular occasion it's Antonio Conte that has manufactured it.
Levy had a howler on the recruitment side because he's the one that employed Antonio Conte on that.
No, I 100% agree with that. I've said that in my videos. I 100% hold Daniel Levy accountable for having this absolute shit show of a scenario in the first place. It's all Daniel Levy's fault for getting there. 100%.
Yeah, that's all.
All right. Let's move on. B Singh saying crap players getting 70, 80k a week. Don't care. Well, I'll disagree that one. Next one is from Andrew saying, for me, not the only top four is gone, even our transfer window is also gone. Levy will utilize this well enough to make sure his pockets are untouched.
Ooh, juicy. That's
Ash, you want to take this one?
Yeah.
Actually, give this one to Marlon. Marlon hasn't spoken for a while.
Go on, Marlon. Go on.
Well, do you know what? Top four. Yeah, I agree. Top four is gone. It's gone. But yeah, Levy. This is just typical Levy for me. The whole situation is Levy-esque. And like we can sit there and debate all day whether the culture of the club is down to him or not. We can debate whether the manager's tenure and how long is going to be down to him or not. But he runs this club. A lot of everything goes through him. So at the end of the day, there's only one man to blame when it comes to 20 years, and it's the same. We're seeing the same recycled crap every single year, and that's what a lot of frustration is tonight. 10:30 at night, we're all discussing another manager gone. We haven't had, and I can't like the fact that Poch lasted longer than a year. We're getting back to the same problems, and the same thing will happen this summer. We'll probably be sitting there, no manager. Going down a whole rigmarole of managers being linked every week, and then it will be, oh crap, who can we get in the last minute? And yeah, it's just a mess. And do I see the mess changing anytime soon? No, not really. This is typical Tottenham. It'll just be fun again next year when we're all sitting here in a year's time, probably complaining about the next manager doing the exact same thing. So,
Poch or Nagelsmann for you, Marlon?
Nagelsmann is probably the one that fits Levy the most. But as you said earlier, I do worry about what happened at Bayern Munich a little bit. But at the same time, the players have been called out as well at this club. So it'll be a case of, let's see what the club do. The club, Paratici plays heavily into this as well. So I'd rather Nagelsmann. I agree with Brian. I don't want Poch back until the board's gone, because he just, after the way he left, it was just, he shouldn't go back. But yeah, Nagelsmann for me.
Anyone else want to touch on this one before we move on?
I do think it is an issue. I'm not sure. I need to research it a little bit more, but it'll be interesting to see if the transfer window, and I think it will be affected because there's no top four money. And there's Levy be a bit more cautious with his spending now, because, he spent big last summer. He spent money in January. So
especially with no bloody Champions League football.
This is what I'm saying. So, I reckon that he might be a bit stingent and go back to his, like they say, a leopard doesn't really change his spots. So I suspect that, he's going to start pulling back on those purse strings. And the fact that when we don't have a manager in yet, we're still in a kind of shaky ground. We don't know where we stand. We don't even know what the club's ethos is really. We don't know if we're attacking or if we're still pragmatic. That in itself is wild to me, and it just shows a lack of forward planning from the board, and the fact that they're so quiet. Even the fact that it's come out at this time of night, like a professional business, you'd expect it to be in the morning, 9 o'clock in the morning, not 10:30 at night. I think they were hoping the man them were all sleeping. I reckon that's what they thought. They'll be sleeping.
We never sleep.
Quitting now, they might not notice. I don't know.
What difference does it make? It's not going to make any difference, is it? There's nothing. Nothing's going to change by releasing it late at night or early in the morning. A load of Tottenham fans yesterday were moaning about how long it's been since we haven't had any news. They finally come to a decision, and now they're. If the decision happened 2 hours ago and they've released the announcement, now people are moaning that they did it at a weird time.
Just let people complain, for God's sake.
It's madness. It's madness.
10:30, Enoch out. 10:30 at night.
Let the
Enoch
people
out.
complain.
No, what? Wait, what did Shaw say? When Conte said his words, it's all about timing. It's all about timing. And 10:30 at night.
Yeah, it's going to be. And in terms of this,
It would have got out. It would have got out between 10:30 in the morning and 9 o'clock 10:30 at night and 9 o'clock in the morning. It would have got out, and then you'd be moaning. People would be moaning about the fact that Tottenham can't keep a fucking lid on important news.
Sure, we just want to know.
If they do, damn if they don't with you lot. It's madness.
Sure, we just want to know. It doesn't matter what time it's going to happen.
We're entitled to moan.
I just need to personally thank Antonio Conte for my tattoo. It was the only thing I want to thank you for my tattoo.
But I just think, regardless, it just shows like how the board move. Even Levy, he says very little, so we're never gonna know much because he doesn't give us much, and that's really it. To be fair, he doesn't give us anything really to know what's going on. He's very vague, isn't he? Like even that statement that came out was very like he's just I don't know, man. I don't know. And to me, I don't know. I could be wrong, but in my opinion, in my humble opinion, I think he's a control freak. I'm not gonna lie. I said it. I think he is. I think he's a control freak. I don't think he can.
I agree.
Egotistic is a word.
This is the reason why I think he's the problem, Sean. This is the reason, because I think he's like, I'll get Paratici a director of football because they know about ball more than I do, but he just can't help himself, man. He really.
Look, it's a popular opinion to say that Levy's the problem. You know, it's a popular opinion. I can see in the comments how unpopular I am this evening. Like, oh no, what again?
You're a Levy shell, man. You're a Levy shell.
Don't worry about the comments. Everyone,
I don't care.
Big up to everyone in the comments. Big up to all the silent listeners as well, because I see you and I hear you as well. I can hear you shout at the screen. I get it. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, and I appreciate. I give you like thumbs up for having the balls to come out and say what you're saying, because like there's probably some people that agree with you and are like, oh yeah, I'm glad Sean said it, because that's what I was thinking.
There's not some people. There's loads of people. It's the majority of people that don't feel the same as some people. So it's all good. I don't care either way. I don't care either way. Like each to their own. It's fine.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. So like, that's it. Really, that's it, man. But yeah, that's my point.
You wanted to touch on this super chat?
Yeah, I was going to say that in regards to this super chat, it's going to be very, very interesting to see what kind of sum we do have with a new manager, because I get the feeling that if we appoint, say, a Nagelsmann or a Pochettino, someone who's more willing to make compromises, it actually might give Levy an excuse maybe not to spend as much money, as considering the 8 players we have coming back from loan in the summer, and considering the vast amount of money, to be fair, we have spent over the last three years. I do feel like Levy, not to say he won't spend at all, but I feel like he might move away from, big money transfers like he has done potentially over the last few years, and maybe with a manager who's more willing to kind of improve players and more willing to work, have more compromises with players they get and stuff like that, and systems and more flexibility. In that sense, it might mean a quieter summer in that sense. And I think a lot could be depending on how much we do sell again, which a lot of summers are. But I think this summer specifically, with all these players coming back and all the money we have spent, and with another rebuild and a new manager, it's going to be a very interesting summer. But like under Conte, we needed very specific things, and we wanted very specific players in for certain positions, which we didn't quite follow, but we did spend a lot of money anyway, and maybe wrongly. But the fact is, whenever we spend big money, it does seem to go wrong, and that has surely got to play on Levy's mind at some point, and that's what I'm worried about as well.
Levy admitted that even in that ridiculous PR statement that came out months ago, the recruitment,
the financial results.
Yeah, it's the financial results.
Ridiculous PR statement, the financial results.
It was not. It was rubbish, mate. Like it was all nonsense words. Like,
what do you mean?
He was blaming the fans, mate. He was blaming the fans.
How was he blaming the fans?
We said specifically to us that we kept going on about we're not doing this, we're not spending that. I'm not saying it was a bad or good thing.
Are you joking?
Say again?
Are you joking?
No, you must have read it, right? You read the statement that he put out, the PR statement that he put out.
Of course.
Not the financial results. I'm talking about the way that he was saying, he's basically palming off to the fans that we keep trying to anticipate and expect certain things or whatever it might be.
These the questions back to the trust. Is that what you're talking about?
Explain that specifically, because that's just a wildly weird statement. I'm not sure what you're saying there. Say that again.
So you remember when he put out that statement a few months ago?
Yeah.
He started going on about that fans have a specific expectation, and that it's actually, he started putting it onto us, like as if it was our fault. Like we're expecting too much, and we were complaining that they weren't investing, they weren't doing this, they weren't doing that. And that's what he started retaliating to. You could clearly see he had a bit of a bee in his bonnet. That's why I'm just relating to what Sim was just saying just then. Is like it's just it's just madness. Like I don't get it.
Not sure that's the case at all, to be honest, mate.
Which
I
part?
The part where he put it on the fans. I think he acknowledged the fact that there's been misspend by the club, that they made mistakes, right? And I think he said
go and read the statement again, mate. Trust me.
I have read it, mate. I've read it.
Go and read it again now, and then we'll talk.
Come back to us.
Not sure.
So we'll give you 5 minutes and come back to us.
Go and read it again now.
Not sure I need to.
Unbelievable, Sean. Is there a bald head under that cap, Sean? Come on.
Yeah, that's not really an attack on there. What I'm saying is exactly what Sean's just mentioned. Though that's what I'm saying. He's openly already admitted that he's failed in that recruitment process.
Yeah,
but then
he did say that. Yeah.
Yeah,
well, he said he's made mistakes. He said he's made mistakes.
That was the original point before you went on a tangent about something else. But what I'm talking about is like the recruitment side of it. He's already admitted to that, and now we're in a summer again where we don't know whether we're going to have a director of football or Paratici's there or not. I honestly think we're going to go back to what we were like 10 years ago when Pochettino first came in, to get a project manager in that's going to basically potentially on a very stringent budget try and accumulate the best out of the players that we do have, hopefully try and get rid of some of that deadwood, but also work with potentially a tight budget, and I think it's going to be a really difficult few years ahead. Whoever comes in, I don't see much changing. I honestly couldn't give a shit who comes in as a manager next, because honestly, I just see the continuous merry-go-round going on and on and on. Like until that ownership's gone, nothing will change. Nothing will change. It's as simple, and that's not a Levy out thing or anything like that. It's just come on, guys. We've been Spurs fans for a long time. What has actually really changed over the last 10, 20 years? Not a lot. And we get the incremental values of great managers who've been there 4 or 5 years. We get managers who've been there 1 year, 2 years. The result's still the same.
You know what? That's a very lazy argument to suggest that just because there's been whatever it is 11, 12 managers that have come along, right? And then because people don't want to go through the rigmaroles of allocating and evaluating every individual manager and all of the individual nuances that affected every single individual season, like what were the players doing? Did you have injuries? What were other teams doing? Did they have injuries? Who was going? Yeah. There's an infinite amount of variables, but no one wants to go through that because it's difficult and it's complex. And even when you do that, there's still a whole ton more like intangibles that you can't even fathom. So people go, we haven't really won a trophy, so let's just look for the easiest, lowest common denominator, and they point up to the top because it's a lazy argument. It's an easy argument, but ultimately, like Daniel Levy is not responsible. He's responsible for many things and takes a massive slice of the blame pie that I always talk about. There's a pizza pie of blame. Everyone gets a slice. Some slice is bigger than the other. Daniel Levy gets one, but to sit there and say that ultimately all problems have to go up here, it's a fine argument as long as you put all credit for everything else that's happened up here as well. And no one ever does. And there's so much credit that should be allocated for the fact that when Daniel Levy took over, for that first 5-year period, we had an average league position of 15.2 in the league. And over the last 5-10 years, we've had an average league position of 4. And that is the best barometer. It removes as many variables and as many of the variants that you can, because league is different to cup competitions, but no one wants to talk about that. They want to allocate the credit where it's due to the manager level, the blame where it's due to the top. And if you want to do that, that's absolutely fine. I don't care. But it's a lazy argument to say just because you can't be bothered to individually review every single season and think about what's happening and all the variables in every single season, who was competing, who wasn't, who was going through a transition, who was doing this. Nah, can't bother with that. It has to be a lowest common denominator. It has to be the owner. It's a lazy argument, and it bores me to tears, if I'm honest.
It's a lazy argument.
You know full well, Sean. You know full well that they've taken us to as far as they did so well.
That's
taking
exactly
us to a
that
certain point. They've done so well taking us to a certain point, but they ain't going to take us further than that. Top 4 is their ceiling, and that's all they want it to be.
And who's going to take us further?
Who's
going to take us further? No, because if listen,
who knows? That's not for us to say who's going to take.
No,
it
is for you to say. It is for you to say.
When we were fighting for Sugar to come out, we didn't say, "Oh, we want Levy and Enoch to come through," and they're the be all and end all. They're going to take us further. No, that's not.
So your argument finishes with we need a buyer to come.
We need a buyer to come. We don't know who that buyer is going to be.
And you don't care who it is either.
It's not about caring.
How much is Daniel paying you, Sean?
Listen, I've got a few years ago, I was a manager of a sales team, right? There's three things that you have to justify when you want to get rid of someone. One is an understanding of their job. Two is an ability to allocate and identify how they're doing relative to their peers. Because if someone's got a sales target, i.e. a target in this scenario of a trophy, but if you've got a sales target of 10 grand a month and you don't like a guy and he's hitting 5 grand a month and you go, that's the reason I want to get rid of him. It's a stupid idea to do that unless you know if the other people in your team are hitting higher than him or below him. And the other thing is, the other most important variable is if you want to sack someone, make sure you know who you're bringing in. If it's still an important job and the CEO of a football club is an important job.
That.
When you want to get rid of Daniel Levy, at least have an idea of who you want coming in. At least have an idea of who you want.
But Daniel doesn't do it. Daniel doesn't do it. He doesn't know who's coming in next. He just sacks a manager and just goes, "Oh, here we go. Just give it to him." He doesn't know who the next manager is going to be. So why can't we hold him to the same threshold?
So you just want to anyone will do.
For me right now with Daniel Levy, I'm more in the sense of he's been in that job for 20 years. I guarantee you now, right? Anybody who's been in the same job for 20 years will start making mistakes, will get bored, and we need something new. We need a fresh ideas on this.
Who? What do you want? Tell me what you want.
But I'm telling you, I just want someone with fresh ideas. Yeah, I want someone new. I don't care who it is at the moment because I've had Daniel for this long, right? Before Sugar.
That sounds like it's well.
But hold on. When
I want to be state funded, all right? I said it.
Fine, just say it. You want a sugar daddy. It's okay, bro. Just call it what it is. You want a sugar daddy.
Sean, I didn't know who was going to come in after Sugar. I didn't have a clue. But yet, I was supporting that he was going to be gone. Why can't I be in the same boat now?
I can't talk about.
I'm saying you can have the position you want, but don't expect it to be better. It could easily be worse.
Oh yeah, but this is what I'm willing to take that risk. I'm willing to take that risk. It doesn't matter if it's going to get better or worse.
I'd rather have some like idea of what we're going to walk into before we just get rid of what we've got.
Sean says you'd rather the devil you know than the devil you don't. Is that
not necessarily? Not necessarily. I'm just saying, at least let me get some insight on what the devil looks like before we make.
I know what Sean's saying, but like I get it because like it's like me. I don't like the oil money, right? I'm not saying that. It's very easy to have someone come in with tanked up billions of pounds and dollars or whatever it might be. I guess there's a bit of an ethos behind Spurs fans and where this word tradition comes from, I don't know, but there's almost like an element of style, something that's in our backbone, something that's in our mind that we want to try and keep a hold of and attach ourselves to emotionally. But I think like it could be easy to turn that tap on and just have a multi-billionaire come in, switch the money on, and we start winning things potentially. Then fantastic. But like equally on the other side of the argument is like actually it's like what Sean's saying, like who do we actually want? There is no answer to that. It's just more like we just want something with a bit more stability. Someone first of all who knows what they're properly doing, like I guess strategy wise from managerial appointments and transfer and recruitment and stuff like that, or at least putting this proper structure in place to do it. I guess it's more about the kind of person we want, not necessarily the amount of money or like who this owner will actually be. It's the kind of like ownership or what would be the word, like the strategic side of it that actually comes in. But like,
Simon, let me just comment on that. I think what you got to add as well, with a new owner comes in, what it does bring, whoever it may be, wherever they are from, however much they are worth, the one thing the few things that it does bring back is hope that we will try and achieve better. The thought and ambition.
A new
everything that has been drained, every single last bead of sweat, hope, blood, tears, dreams, everything that we've thought may happen within this football club has been absolutely wiped out. It's like the Sahara Desert trying to find water right now. You're like, oh, are we going to win? Can we go to Carabao? Oh, no, we don't go to domestic cups. Can we push on the? No. Can we keep on? Oh, no, with the manager, the players. a new owner comes in, Sean. To everyone, it doesn't matter.
I'm listening to everyone.
It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't matter how many millions they're backed. Whoever comes in, the next start. If we had new owners at the start of next season, everyone would be thinking, right, this is a season. I believe we're going to win something. I hope we're going to, and actually have the ambition and dream and belief that this team and this new owner is going to reset the clock and start it again.
I feel
and we at least have the dream.
Every good rebellion is built on hope.
There you go. So, Simeon, see, you just basically said eloquently what I was trying to say, because we know I can't do that.
Sean doesn't do hope. Sean doesn't do hope.
No, I do logic.
I've got Red as my lawyer. I've got Simeon as my thesaurus. Other jobs are available. But yeah, that's what we need. We just need the hope.
I love being on the guys. It's incredible the weight of animosity towards me. I love it. I absolutely adore it. Like, bring it on, guys. Bring it on. It's fine.
Ash, you wanted to come in and say something. What did you want to say?
Ash. Oh, sorry. Yeah.
You were trying to come in before.
Yeah. For me, I think Levy lost his way, in my opinion, after Poch, and ever since then he's been pretty much. He's moved away from what he called himself, the DNA, and I think between Poch and Levy, I'd say Poch. He was the one that came out with the philosophy, and he was the one that was getting into our heads that this is where the direction where the club is going. This is what we need to do from the ground all the way up to the top. This is how we need to move. We need to move in one direction. And as fans, we all understood what the ethos was and what direction we were going. It was very clear to understand. And I think since Levy moved away from that, and he saw the shining lights or the brand new shiny things, like, bro, what's that? Got gassed, and he went from Mourinho and just got rid of Poch after the first sign of trouble. He wasn't going right, and he just said, look, now's my chance, as an opportunist would. Now's my chance to get the newest, biggest, shiniest manager that's about. And Mourinho's philosophy is completely different to what the club's was. And then ever since then, we got rid of Mourinho, and you would have thought after that we go back to maybe what we were doing before, go back onto the project. But instead, he went and got, well, not him necessarily, but yeah, we went to go and get Nuno. Nuno again was a son of Mourinho. And again, it was similar. Some people call it pragmatic style football, It wasn't really the attacking, entertaining football that we all know and love and associate with our beloved Spurs. And that's the reason why people watch football, to be entertained, to enjoy it, and then be proud of their club. Because I don't know about you guys, but I was really proud to be a Spurs fan on the Poch. And I know mutual fans, we were like the Brighton, People were like, oh, that's like my second team, Spurs. That's when people started falling in love with us.
Didn't win anything then either, did we?
Pardon?
We didn't win anything under him, did we?
No, we didn't. But the reason why is because Levy moved away from that. No, he didn't. He didn't fire Mourinho and go to.
We got to six finals or semi-finals.
He didn't fire Pochettino to go to Mourinho. All right, cool. So then he went to Mourinho, and then from Mourinho he went to Nuno, and then after Nuno he went on to was it 72 days? 72 days or something of nothingness. So that just shows a lack of leadership from the top. And then after that, we went to Conte. So we went to Conte now. And again, it's another mistake, in my opinion, because we haven't gone back to the original format of the DNA, the attacking football, which he came out and said that he wanted to bring back. But he went against his own words. So you just don't see the logic, you don't see the leadership, and you don't see what the motto is. Like he always talks about, to dare is to do. That is all lost in translation. It's all talk. And I think that's the reason why you've got a lot of animosity and frustration at the board, because at the end of the day, people want someone to blame. And I understand what you're saying about,
right, they do, yeah.
And, players and, because I think you're mad because obviously you're thinking, right, some fans aren't attributing the blame to Conte. But we are saying, yeah, Conte did implode. We do understand that.
But I blame Levy for the fact that Conte is even here in the first place, Ash. So, like, when people in the comments or people like on the panel think that I'm defending Daniel Levy, I'm not.
No,
I blame Daniel Levy entirely for this whole scenario being in where it is.
Not, but I'm just reiterating the actual fact from the beginning to where we are now.
Everyone knew this would happen.
Everyone knew this would happen. And that's on Daniel Levy, 100%.
And not only that, it's the way, like, every window you can know that we are interested, FC. Interested. Do you know how frustrating?
Considering.
Imminent, FC, imminent.
You know how frustrating that is as a club to be alerting all the big clubs. We're looking at this player, and then don't get them. Like, every window this happens, an opportunity passes us by, and we have an opportunity to step up under a certain manager, under certain level of authority, and we just don't push on. And I think he is a big part. I know, like, the players are. I know that the director of football is, but I think he is a big part of it because he does stagnate. I don't care what anyone says. When it comes to the transfer window, we miss out time and time again. And I just think certain times were one or two players. I'm not talking about the Stellinis. I'm not talking about Gvardiol's. I'm not talking about none of those I'm talking about previous windows where we had real chances to sign real players. And he's been stubborn with, like, 5p. You know what I mean? 1p, half a penny.
Don't play fucking Monday morning quarterback, Ash. You're going to mention Jack Grealish in a minute, aren't you? That'll drive me up.
No. I'm not.
Don't bother, because I'll get really irritated.
Just mention Kim Min Jae. Just mention Kim Min Jae instead.
I'm not mentioning no names. I'm just saying a pattern from what I've seen, in my opinion. That's all. That's it. That's all. And that's the reason why a lot of people were mad. That's all.
Just to let you know, I'm not getting the members chats through on StreamYard, so I'll just read a couple out that I've got here. The Jorical, member for 25 months, big up to yourself. He says, you'll never get the piss out of the stream if you keep Levy at the top of it, pissing into it. The manager and players are downstream from Levy's decisions. And it's hard to disagree with that. Ryan Isaacs, Levy out, enough said, don't need an argument. And Wolves by saying, and as always, every day is Blame Levy Day.
Correct.
Yeah.
Guilty as charged.
Super chat here.
If only you guys could get like a YouTube stream onto a protest, it would be superb, wouldn't it?
Lazy 8 saying we've got as much chance of maintaining top 4 as we did 3 months ago. Do you agree with that, guys?
No.
I don't agree with it at all.
Love you, Nick.
Top 4
but no,
3 months ago, I would have thought it's possible. Now I think it's absolutely not a chance.
Yeah.
Not a goddamn chance.
We all agree with that?
Well, it's when you have no hope. All the time.
No pressure.
This guy,
we do the opposite. So I agree with you. Yeah, no hope.
Ali says, I'm broken. A few of us dads watch our games in secret so our sons don't have to support Spurs. Like we have to do. Conte is right. Levy out.
No, I spoke to my dad today on the phone. He was like, I was talking about the hard time I get. He's like, why, mate? Why do you do it? I was like, it's your fault. It's your fault. I support Tottenham because of you.
Sean, serious question. Is your dad Levy in or Levy out?
He's Levy out.
Okay. Hey.
Good man.
So why don't you follow him in that as well, Sean?
Was a rebel.
Listen, I am Levy. By the way, I am Levy sell. I'm Levy go. I will never be Levy out because I feel like the momentum, the movement is based on historical resentment, right? And most of you guys that feel that way, and the people in the comments, you look back on the previous over the last 20 years and think that he's, done us dirty. I don't. I think that the game has pivoted to a period right now where it's difficult for him to compete, and he's taken that, to Ben's point earlier, he's taken us as far as he can. Very happy for him to sell, as long as there is someone that can come in that is not just going to hand over a check and then we don't know what we're dealing with, that can take us forward. And that is a question that I think is pertinent to know who we're selling to is very relevant. But I don't look back and think he did a bad job. I think he's responsible for taking us from an average league position of 15th to 4.2 over the last 22 years, which I think is the best barometer of success. And I don't look back with resentment, but I'm happy for him to move on. And my dad feels differently. He thinks he's been a failure.
Tell him to come up to the club shop every single home game. You can do with him.
Only one man for the job, David Pleatin. I mean, Roy Hodgson's just gone back to Crystal Palace.
This has been Ben's thing all week. Ben is adamant that it's Pleatin. Pleat all the way.
Yeah. Yeah, he is, yeah.
Next one from Anup saying we should sign De Zerbi. Man is working miracles at Brighton with a fraction of our budget. Already got wins against Arsenal, Chelsea and Liverpool. I just think this one is a bit not realistic. I mean, you're not going to get him out of Brighton now, are you, Sim?
No, not right now. There's no reason for him to leave, and I don't think it'd be right to force him out right now. Anyway, I don't think it's like I know they're doing well, but I wouldn't like go and pay a big sum of money just because they've been playing well for a few months. I don't think that makes sense.
Craig Fenner saying Nagelsmann will bring the drilled German players. I mean, everyone has got Nagelsmann's name on his lips. I think like this is the most unified we've been in as a fan base for a long time, trying to get Nagelsmann
100%.
For a week,
class manager.
Next up is Rambro saying Stellini was acting under Conte's orders in games he coached. With Conte gone, will the real Stellini step up, or will he be on the mobile to Conte for tips on what to do next? What do you guys reckon?
Oh, that'd be interesting. Imagine Stellini gets us top 4 and then Conte sues us because he was the one who actually did it. He wants the extra year.
Quick question on that. Does anybody think that the formation will now change, or do you think he'll keep with the 3?
It will stay the same, in my opinion.
Yeah, I think he will stay with the 3, but I just feel
we can't. I think he'll definitely keep with 3 at the back, and then we don't have the midfielders because they're all injured, so he has to play 3-4-3.
Yeah. I just think that tactic that he did. I know it was against Man City, and it was like a one-off. I just think we might see a few more tweaks here and there.
Yeah.
But I think overall the formation will stay the same. But it'll be interesting to see if he gets his ideas out and if the players respond to it and if we react to it. And that's what I think. Personally.
All right, moving on. Nice one, Rambro. Lee Richards saying we only group of the fans that sees regularly being in the top 4 as a failure. Maybe we need a few seasons mid-table to give our fans some perspective. Are we the only group of fans that sees being regularly in the top 4 a failure? And do we see that as a failure? Because actually, last year was the first time we got top 4 in 3 years?
We were celebrating that. We were actually happy.
Yeah, but it's the first time we've got it in 3 years.
Yeah, we were happy. We were happy with 4th. We were.
It's a failure. Happy. It's a failure. We see it as a failure when you have these managers who are only going to be here for a short time and they come in to win things. And then obviously when they come in and we only get top 4, it was a failure. Under Poch, it wasn't a failure. We were happy, to be honest, getting top 4, good football, trying to compete with things under a certain philosophy. It was good. But then you bring in Mourinho, and then all of a sudden, when you do that, you're sending a message saying we're going to try and actually win something big. We've forget this philosophy rubbish. That
Mourinho celebrated Europa League,
and then all of a sudden, top 4 would be a failure because what's the point of having this manager for 2 years if he's going to be getting top 4? There's no point. You might as well have a project.
Well,
so I think there's context.
To top on that, I don't think what Lee said. I think getting top 4 is an achievement. I think the failure comes when we do nothing with it.
That's also true.
We get there. And I think Ben said it on one of your streams before when he said last season that was an achievement. This season it was kind of that's an expectation. I think getting there is an achievement. It is a huge achievement to get there. Look at all the money that's in football. But when we get there, we need to say, right, okay, we want to stay here. This is what we're going to do it, and then we just fail. Then we fail. That's the failure. Getting there and just expecting the same thing to happen again, that's the failure. Getting there is an achievement. Not doing anything with it, that's the failure.
Yeah, getting there and not kicking on, basically. Yeah,
exactly.
Completely.
Yeah, exactly. Ali EM follows up from that super chat and he says, it ain't a joke, boys. My wife forced me. Brilliant stuff. There's a couple more left. Craig Fenner saying new owners need to want to win. That's all we need. Absolutely. That's all we want. A chairman that wants to win. That would be nice.
Let's simplify it, shall we?
Say again.
Definitely. Yeah.
Let's just simplify it. That's all we need. Just a will to win. Oh, that will do it.
Saying, with all this investment off the pitch, stadium, F1 deal, hotel, golf courses, is this building the basis for Daniel Levy to invest more into the team? What do you reckon, Marlon?
Well, we haven't seen. We've made Champions League, and we haven't seen that much. Do you know what? To be fair to him, like last summer, he did spend. But again, I think, personally, the philosophy of the club is always going to break players when they come in, and I don't think it matters who comes in. I think we could bring in Messi, Neymar, and Mbappe up front, and somehow would mess them up. And that's where we're at with that now. I think
at least we'll get top 4 with them.
Yeah, but you look at let's look at the Celso for talking purposes. Goes and does well elsewhere, but as soon as he comes back and plays for Spurs, he was useless or wasn't playing under the right manager, and you just get all these excuses. We never seem to have the right manager with the right players, and that's always going to be the problem. So yeah, it might invest in the team, but it's going to be the case and thing where we go, whoever we bring in, the mentality of the club's just going to be ingrained in them, and then they end up failing most of the time. Like you've seen the drop off of Kulusevski this season. With injuries and stuff like that, and I think it's a mental thing. I think there's a mental block here, and that's the way things are. Richarlison's come in, was able to do well at Watford and places, but comes here, can't do well at all. So we have to look at what we're bringing in as a club.
I want to ask Sean, actually. I want to put a hypothetical to Sean. Obviously, right now, right?
Fed up here.
I want to. I'm zooming in on him. I'm just on
the lack of balance in the panel.
No, but I want to put a hypothetical to him, and I'll see what he's saying. Like, obviously, right now, there is definitely interest in ENIC and Levy, whatever people want to say. Obviously, they want the team to do well, and the better the team does, the more money the team makes, better for them and everything like that. And obviously the vision right now is like we have this F1, the concerts and everything, and obviously the theory, whether it's practice or not, the theory is the more money we make from all these different things, right, then that'll be reinvested in the team, and that more money can be invested in the team and we can improve, right? Mm-hmm. But what if it ever does get to the stage where all these other things like F1, concerts, NFL, all these other things, what is there ever a worry that ever gets to the stage where they're making so much money that they're not dependent on the team doing well to kind of make the money, and then all of a sudden they don't have to have that interest as much for the team to do well because they're making so much money off these other interests and stuff like that? Would that ever be a worry?
No. Here's why. We got a limit of 5 concerts a year at the stadium, and we are limited to that because of disruption to local residents. Right? You make £2 million out of a non-footballing event. All right, so make 15, 20 million quid a year in not in profit, in revenue from when you add up all of the rugby, the concerts, and the Super Bowl. 25 million quid in revenue, not in profit. How much money do you think you make from a go-kart track? There's a go-kart track about 5 miles from me. I don't think that they can afford to buy a football team or to put on, to turn into some kind of Goliath in the property market from running electric fucking little mini cars around.
You ain't seen this go-karting track, mate.
No, none of us have. But either way, right, it ain't going to touch the sides relative to what Champions League can do. So, I mean, no way am I under any illusion that any of this stuff is anything more than the sugar on top of a very smart businessman who is trying to make use of an asset that sits empty for 310 days a year. No, not even that. Sorry. How many home games a season are there? Probably 18, 19 in the league and probably 5 in the cups. So 25 games a year. 25 games a year.
Plus Europe.
So
5 in the cup, so you're optimistic. That means getting to the 5th round of one.
330 days a year. There is a giant $1 billion asset that's sitting empty, and people are mad at a very smart, astute owner saying, let's try and figure out a way to pay down the debt and try to make money out of it. Like the partisan, the positivity, the confirmation bias that is palpable when I hear people moan about that bollocks is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I want Daniel Levy or whoever it is to be using that stadium every single minute of every single day. They should have Laser Quest in there. They should have cheese fairs and whatever. They should be using it they should do everything they possibly can.
Keep the brewery open as a bar, as a pub.
Use the brewery, wine days, cheese days, beer days. Do everything you possibly can, as long as it doesn't disrupt Harry Kane's ability to score a goal against Manchester City or whoever else. Then why are you moaning about it? And most of you don't have an answer.
I agree with you.
I'm totally with you on that.
I don't think anyone's
and
arguing.
It's never going to make enough money. That asset is never, ever, ever going to make enough money where Tottenham Hotspur is not the primary source of income from it. So it should be encouraged. And anyone that is discouraging it or slandering it or telling everyone that Daniel Levy is a dickhead and a problem, and the ultimate problem because
he is a dickhead. He is a problem.
How dare he use the asset? Well, you're also someone who calls him a parasite, Brian. So
I am.
and it's a disgusting word that should never be used on people anyway. But there's no reason why that asset should not be used for everything it possibly can be, as long as it doesn't disrupt Tottenham's.
I think the hysteria, Sean. I think the hysteria, Sean, comes from the crossover of people just see that happening and perhaps not the success that we want as a football club. But obviously, everything's changed over the last 10, 20 years.
Money encourages gives you options. In life, generally, money doesn't make you happy; it gives you more options.
Yeah,
right. And with Tottenham,
but
only that money it gives you options. It doesn't guarantee success, and the entitlement of the fan base to demand trophies it's something that should come 10 to the dozen at Tottenham. It's just bonkers to me. I know I'm not popular on the panel tonight. I know I can see the comments. I don't care. It's all good. I'm happy with my opinion. But Daniel Levy's doing what he does. He's made it clear that we haven't got a sugar daddy ownership. And I encourage someone who says we're all going to live with our means. If that's the case, so be it. Until we get a new owner that can come in and take over and do all the things that everyone wants. Until that day happens, I want him to make use of that asset in every way he possibly can.
There's no doubt about it, Sean. Commercially and from a business perspective, he's one of the best in the world, probably. As I said, I think psychologically for fans is that growing up as a fan of a club, of a football team, football is commercial now. It's very different to what it was 15, 20 years ago, and even beyond there. I think it's just a bit of a psychological crossover of people getting frustrated because they just see constant announcements, and rightly so, as you say, Sean, is brilliant in that way that he's done all that. But at the end of the day, 90% of the population or fan base will sit there and go, I don't give a shit about the F1. I don't give a shit about this, concerts, this and the other. I want my team to perform.
You don't have to care about it, but you shouldn't resent it happening. It provides jobs into the local community, an incredibly deprived area of Tottenham. It brings in circa £400 million a year to local businesses. There's absolutely nothing to hate about it. It should be implored, encouraged, celebrated. And it should continue to be a facet of the local community. And I don't understand anybody that has a problem with it. There's not one single negative that makes logical sense that outweighs all the positives that it brings, not just to Tottenham Hotspur, but the local community. Anyone that's got a problem with it is got a confirmation bias in my mind.
Last super chat, guys. Richard Millington says Daniel Levy equals best ground in the world, sets us up long term. Players are to blame. Far too easy to blame the chairman. They let us down. Same players that have been there too long. Ashmatic, you can take this one.
Yeah, so I basically was asking before how many of those players were about when Poch was about, just to clear up that narrative. And you said, I think it was you, Ben, that said it was only free
in that game specifically. Yeah, it was just Dyer, Kane, and Son.
Yeah, Dyer, Kane, and Son. And then you were saying but it just sets the tone basically for the dressing room. But my argument is if the majority of the squads are coming out and they're saying they didn't have a problem with the actual the manager himself, then it's are they really throwing them under the bus? That's what I was gonna say. That was my thing.
Oh,
who's that? Oh,
Hi, Dave.
Oh, right.
Oh, brilliant. David and I can make a wicked substitution because I need to go to bed because I've got work. So David can take my place because I really do need to go. Boys, brothers, thanks for having me on. Everyone, I will speak to you all later. Ding dong, Conte's gone. And as always, Levy out.
Oh, he's been waiting to say that one. I can tell, 100%.
So, like, I just thinking, like, people say it's the same players that let us down, but I think the majority of the players that were playing against Southampton that did let us down, they're not the same players. So it kind of goes against the argument, if that makes sense. So sometimes it's just the way sometimes the game goes. Every game is slightly different. Obviously, it's been frustrating that we've gone out the way we've gone out to, like, Sheffield United, etc. That was a completely different set of players. Do you know what I mean? That was a different set of 11. So those players threw us on the bus, but then the players against Southampton, they threw us on the bus as well. But it's like, yeah, the point I was making is it's different. It's different players, and sometimes it's just how the cookie crumbles. It's just not been our season. Do you know what I mean? That's what I was going to say.
Dave, welcome to the stream, my friend.
Come on, Dave.
How are we?
How you doing, mate? Talk me through your feelings.
No, I'm just fed up of being here. Seems like we're here,
You only just got here, Dave.
Just go if you want, mate.
Oh, Dave, you can jump out anytime you want.
No, I just said you only just got here.
No, I'm just fed up of being on this merry-go-round, on this circus, to be honest with you. Look, it was inevitable that Conte was going to get sacked after the explosive outburst. But do you know what? I don't think he's the only one that should change. I think we need to change a captain. I think if it was possible, which it isn't, because Levy owns part of Enoch and was a part of setting up with Joe Lewis, I would also change chairman. But one thing I do know is I think the rebuild from captain, manager, it has to be football focused. And I think we need to get more football minded people up there into the board, more football minded people in there that are trustees to the board, in my opinion, instead of looking to bring in director of football, manager, and rely on them. Bring in guys that have an affiliation with the club. Bring in guys that you can trust will always have the club's best interest at heart, basically, And for me, I'm just absolutely fed up with it. I think, first of all, I think some of them Poch players, if not most of them, if not all of them, I think need to take a bow. I think it's an incredible achievement being able to having Pochettino, Conte, and Jose Mourinho on your list of managers sacked. I think they all need to take a bow, to be honest with you.
I'm just Kane and Son into that.
Huh?
You put Kane and Son into that.
Kane and Son, I'm a little bit different on, because look, I know Son's been poor this season, and Kane had a bit of a stint under Nuno where they haven't been playing well, but they've mainly pulled us through these last 2-3 years, and for me, they've sort of been my only enjoyment in the football club, to be honest with you. The only thing that I think most fans have spoke about on the weekend, whether it be Kane or Son, because of their individual brilliance, their goals, this, that, and the other. So I sort of find it hard to put them into it. I'll more look towards that back line, even towards Hugo Lloris. It's just nowhere near good enough, We've got a terrible problem at Tottenham in terms of, if you go back and look at it, players complained about Pochettino's training methods, they complained about Jose Mourinho's training methods, they complained about Nuno's, and they've also been complaining about Conte, and it's not good enough. We're developing a really bad culture that's starting to set in at this football club, and it has to stop, and it has to change in order for us to progress.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to disagree with all of that. Sim, got any comments?
About what specifically?
Anything what David said.
No, I completely agree with what David said. I think when I read the players again, when I hear read that Athletic article again,
makes you sick.
About the players, but when I hear, like, there's one thing if I'm hearing like the players saying, "Look, we're all fully behind Conte," or not fully behind Conte, but like when he first came in, right? They were saying how they're desperate for this structure, they're desperate for something to buy into, and they apparently, I remember reading articles when Conte first comes in, saying how they're blown away by his training methods, all these kind of things. They can't believe all these trainings, unbelievable. And all of a sudden, we're hearing now, I'm bored by it. It's tedious now. It's repetitive. All these kind of things. It's like that really frustrates me. Now I think that goes to the culture of the club, and that definitely when you hear those kind of things, that definitely tells me that what Conte was saying was 100% right when I hear those kind of things, because they have no right to be questioning a manager's methods who's won multiple titles when they won absolutely nothing. Who are they to say that his methods are wrong and they get bored by them and they're repetitive? Like, they're repetitive because you're supposed to really get these patterns of play drilled into you, so that when you perform it on the pitch, and it really pisses me off, and it definitely goes to the culture of a lot of these players. Where when we've heard it now, as David said, under 3 different managers, we've heard these things from these players about managers' trading methods that they're not on board with, and that definitely tells me that there has to be a change in how in the dressing room for sure. In I don't know who. Look, it's hard to say specifically. Clearly, there's there's people who leak stuff to these to the journalists, where I don't know who these players are, but whoever they are, they need to go, because I think it definitely goes to the culture of the club when they're complaining about trading methods. It's like that, under Mourinho, they're complaining about the trading methods. It's ridiculous, in my opinion. You have to give your all in training every single day and act like a professional, and not sit there after training thinking, "Oh God, it's the same thing again. It's so boring. Blah, blah, blah. I want this guy gone." It's like, who do you think you are?
Like an absolute constant cycle with these absolute. I don't even know who they are specifically. I wish he would have named and shamed them in that press conference.
But it's got to be people that have been here since the Pochettino era. Like, you're looking at players that have a huge stay up in the boardroom with Daniel Levy. Ben Davies went and got Nuno sacked. You've had players that went to him over Pochettino, players that went to them over Jose, players that went to them over Conte. And you just can't have that. Just cannot have playing on at this football club. And the reason why I say it has to be players that have been here for a long time, because they're the ones that would have developed relationships with the likes of journalists and people like that to be able to leak these sort of stories.
But it also makes me think, like, because players like Eric Dyer, right, you would probably assume that he would be one of those players in that category, right? And then you've got someone like Eric Dyer welcoming all the Portuguese-speaking players to the squad. You know, he's the one that's going to be closest to them when they're getting settled into the squad. So I think, like, this mentality just, like, seeps down.
Like, you seen the guy's reaction to not winning trophies. He's standing there laughing. I'm sorry, but if you're a winner, or even if you're pissed off by any of the situation that's been happening over the last while, you don't stand there and laugh at that and have a giggle with him. That's not what winners do. That's not what someone that has a hunger and desire day in, day out to win at absolutely everything and win at all costs does. And, you know, that attitude is shown and reflected on the football pitch. When he's making the mistakes he is, and he's throwing his arms up, blaming everyone else. And it's a part of the excuse culture at this football club that needs to change. People need to start taking accountability for what they're doing, for letting the team down. It's all well and good, keep coming out saying sorry. But when does it come to a point where it's like, look, sorry is not good enough anymore. You know, show on the pitch that you're sorry. Show where it matters. Show where it actually cares to fans. And they don't do it. And all you hear after every manager's gone is excuses in the press, reasons why it didn't work out, this, that, and the other. And I'm bored of it. I'm fed up with it. It has to change.
Do you think Dyer will get a new contract?
Who?
Eric Dyer. No, we're talking about Dyer.
Well, why you bring that up now, Ash? There's a time and a place, man. Could this day get any worse?
But I think as well, not to defend the players, but I just think clearly what we're seeing from a lot of these players is that when you bring in managers like Conte and Mourinho, where you literally have to buy into them 100%, even for a short period of time, and you have to take the shit from them and be mentally strong, basically, if you're gonna basically win trophies, and it's going to be very intense, and it's going to be, you might not like a lot of the stuff, but there's going to be a lot of home truths. But if you buy into it, you can go a long way under these managers. I just think clearly a lot of these players are not up to that kind of way of playing and philosophy and that kind of stuff. And that again goes to why we're appointing these managers who keep trying to drill this into these players when they keep rejecting that kind of way. And when you saw I know under Pochettino went wrong near the end, but when you see that when a lot of the time when it's more, when there's more of a project, they're more growing with the manager and stuff like that, then and learning the system that way, they were much more suited to it. Obviously, there's a lot less pressure, but they're a lot less suited to that kind of way of playing. And again, that goes to what Conte was saying: was these players don't like to play under pressure when the heat is on them. A lot of the times, they don't want to deal with it. They'll rather blame this and that rather than deal with the heat themselves. And that's what we're seeing.
Yeah. Absolutely. Another super chat here from Andrew Din saying, I feel the manager situation will get sorted too soon. Step 1, Conte walks. Step 2, announce Poch or Nagelsmann due to season ticket renewals. I mean, what are the chances are we get an announcement before season ticket renewals on the manager?
I mean, Levy would be hoping that it will be, but who knows? It's going to be tough because I think if they would have been able to appoint a manager now, they would have. Clearly, they're having trouble. So I think we're going to have to wait till the end of the season to hear, in my opinion, unless we hear like there's a pre-contract signed later on. But I don't know when is season ticket renewal date. I don't know.
There isn't an official date, but it's usually around this time of year.
It will be filled up
May
anyway,
time, isn't it? Usually,
it will be filled up.
No, what was the classic one though?
It will be filled up. I think there will be a lot of people giving them away this year, as there was last year, but they'll still be taken.
They'll be filled up. They'll be filled up.
What was the classic one though? Was Conte was we were set to sign Conte before renewal date, and then after renewal date it collapsed. I remember that. I remember that very clearly. But I don't. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't think it's a thing that will affect us.
Phil P says, thanks and bye AC, Joke Show FC, big up the panel, big up Phil. And Jorical with another one saying, Levy's core business model of the fan base, using the badge to get building permits, nothing brilliant, has quislings in the squad and throughout Tottenham Hotspur Football Club.
Well,
would you guys take top 4 with Stellini, yeah? Or your dream kind of manager, like your dream coach, whoever that may be, and like getting top 6? Or
right now,
Europa Conference, for example. Yeah, right now. What would you take?
I'd probably get top 4 Stellini and hire the coach in the summer, unless you're saying Stellini stays.
Well, yeah, basically, like you don't get your dream coach. Basically, you don't get your dream coach
ever. He doesn't come next season.
He doesn't come in the summer. He doesn't come.
No, I get my dream coach now. Then
you guys.
Yeah, 100%. I'd rather for the long term. I'd rather the dream coach. 100%.
What's the hypothetical here? We get top 4 with Stellini.
Yeah, top 4.
But we don't get our dream coach.
Miss out on the dream coach, whoever that may be, or we don't get top 4 and we get like Conference League, like Europa, or you get your dream coach.
Oh, it's got to be dream coach. 100%. 100%.
I mean, and Conference League.
And Conference League, yeah.
You'd rather Stellini? You'd rather like Stellini and then like Marco Silva?
Not full time. Not full time. That's not the question. The question was the question Stellini full time?
No, it was you're missing out on whoever your dream coach is for the forever.
Yeah,
and you get top 4.
But does anyone have a dream coach does anybody have a dream coach that there isn't an alternative right behind it that they're okay with? Like for me, Nagelsmann is my dream coach, but if we don't land him, I'm okay with Poch. I'm fine.
I want to know Dave's opinion, new manager. You want who you think about Dave for a new manager?
Yeah, I want to give Poch another opportunity. I want to give him the chance that I think he deserved the first time round.
What's your opinion on Nagelsmann, Dave? Because we're all kind of like, the whole fan base is kind of set on Nagelsmann. What's your opinion?
Got upset here. Look, for me, I'll be honest.
Join the club, bro.
I'm not totally. I'm not totally convinced on Nagelsmann, to be honest with you. I can understand why I think many people want him in, but for me, I think it's a bit of a gamble. I think you've got to ask questions. What have Bayern Munich seen in the guy that they were so quick to get rid of him after paying 25 million to get him in when they seen him closer up? You hear a lot about him falling out with Manuel Neuer, sacking the goalkeeper coach that has worked with the guy, falling out with other players. The CEO and some of the board members have also come out and said things about the guy. So for me, I think we should be looking a bit more deeper into that rather than just jumping in to get him in because he's available. You've got to understand that Bayern Munich have developed a winning culture there, and it's been there for a very long time. So why were they so quick to get rid of this guy? Look, we can sit here and say, yeah, he has a decent record there, this, that, and the other, but the reality is, they weren't entirely happy with the brand of football. I think Oli Khan said that, their quality never really shone through. So he's basically saying that he never got the best out of some of the star qualities that they have there. So for me, I wouldn't be so quick to jump on it. Yeah, he's done a good job at Hoffenheim. He's done well at Leipzig. I would argue that most managers that go into Leipzig do well because they got some of the best players to work with that come through that Red Bull brand. So for me, I think it's very hard to fail there. And then when he did get his chance at a real top job, I don't think he made the best of it. And my opinion is, I think the Premier League is a lot more challenging and a lot more demanding than what the Bundesliga is. I think he could very easily be found out, in my opinion. I get that people want him. He brings a brand of football. He mixes it up tactically. He's flexible and stuff like that. I just think it's a big gamble. And look, we can sit here and say we want a project manager, but the reality is fans don't have the patience for a project, and neither does the board. The board have sacked the last three bar CONTE. You sort of say he sacked himself on the basis of top four. The fan base have been calling for managers to be sacked 16 months into Jose's tenure, 5 months into Nuno's, and now another 16, 17 months into Conte's tenure. So the reality is nobody has the patience for a project. And with the nature of football, the next manager is simply going to have to come in, keep winning, try and get top four, and just hope that we can address the problem areas in the squad. Because I'm of the opinion, I've been spouting this for quite some time. You address that backline properly, it gives you a chance of winning. If you keep goals out, you always have a chance of winning games. And that's the basis of any formation, to give any manager a chance to really implement what his style of play, his philosophy on the Tottenham squad. You've got to have a back four that keeps goals out so that you can win games. And then with that, it builds trust between management, players, and everybody else. And it develops a good atmosphere and everything else like that. But nobody has patience for it. I've been saying for a long time, you got to keep calling for all these managers out. Look, for me, the next guy, I think we've got to sit there. I think we've got to back this guy. I think you've just finally got to address the long outstanding issues of this squad. Stop fanning about it. Just get it done and give them a chance to succeed. I'm absolutely fed up with it. I'm fed up with it. And the reason why I say the next one is really important to get right, and one that the board are willing to stick with for 2, 3, 4 years, is because, look, Kane and Son are not getting any younger. They're just not. Whether like Kane's contract, he's got 1 year left on it, so he might not be here around. And even if he does sign, he's going into his 30s. Son's also in his 30s. And at Tottenham right now, and over the last few years, we've scored goals, but we haven't been able to keep them out. But when Kane and Son go, who've been the primary source of our goals over the last few years, and if we don't address that backline and we're still conceding goals at the same rate we are, we're going back down to a club that we were in the mid-90s, mid-table Tottenham, and I don't want to be that club. So for me, you've got to finally get that goalkeeper sorted out. You've got to get that defence sorted out, because once you get that done, you're in a position then to think about maybe changing with Kane and Son, or be ready for them maybe deteriorating or getting a bit older, not being able to do the same things that they used to be able to do. Because if you keep goals out, you always have a chance of gaining points in games. And that's the primary thing we have to do, is get the next manager in, sort that back line out, and just build a base and a platform for us to work with.
So, but do you think Poch can work second time round? Do you think he could be successful in the same way he was the first time around?
Look, I'll be honest. I think the idea is more romantical than logical, in my opinion. But at the end of the day, I think when I look at it, I think it's going to be very hard for him to replicate it. But there's a lot here for him to work with. I don't believe the whole squad needs to be decimated, ripped down, and pulled apart. I think there is a lot that Pochettino can work with. I think you've got a Doji coming in on the left-hand side. I think Reguilon Poch, I reckon, might be able to work with him. On the right-hand side, you've got Paul Emerson / Jed Spence. Exciting. In midfield, I think we've got okay options. If Poch, one thing Poch will need is a cam. I think up front, I think you've got enough options there. There's a lot of young players coming through that Poch can work with. Look at the guys out on loan, Spence, Gill. You've got Ollie Skippensar in the squad. You've got Harvey White, Alfie Devine, Dane Scarlett, Troy Parrott, people like that. There's a lot of youngsters that Pochettino can work with and instill a new era, a new philosophy, and maybe expand the squad a little. With being able to get the best out of some of these players. But the reality is, with Pochettino, his whole thing was based off a world-class goalkeeper in Hugo Lloris at the time, who's sadly since declined, and world-class players in their position across the back line. And until we do that, we ain't going anywhere.
But will fans give him enough time, do you think, in your opinion? Will they give him
no choice now?
I keep saying it. At the end of the day, I just hope that, we've got to realise we can't.
Football breeds patience, Dave. Come on, mate.
Sorry?
Good football breeds patience. Patience breeds success.
No. Winning football breeds patience. There's a difference. If it didn't, Jose Mourinho and Conte wouldn't have had the longevity they've had in their career with the trophies they've had.
But Conte didn't win.
Trophies,
fans would have had patience with Conte. Fans would have had patience with Conte if he was down here for a long-term plan. He wasn't. His contract was ending up.
I disagree. The football was rubbish. The first and like I said to you earlier,
no one complained at the end of last season.
The football wasn't that bad last season. The football this season's been absolutely atrocious, and it's the same. It's a better squad. It's a better squad. So those that are saying, "Well, Dave Dyer's not good enough, Davies ain't good enough," they were paramount in the squad last season, right?
Yeah,
and I made the point again. No one remembers Ramos ball. No one remembers George Graham ball. Everyone does remember Poch, Redknapp, and Joel. Right? It's not success that keeps Tottenham fans happy. It is entertainment as the prerequisite element. The bedrock of what makes Tottenham fans breed patience is attacking entertaining football.
Yeah, but winning one Carabao Cup and then getting gone next season is not considered success in my opinion.
Sorry, mate, didn't hear that. Say again.
Winning one Carabao Cup and getting sacked the next season is not considered a success.
Well, it was enough for Arteta to stay around, wasn't it?
Well, first of all, he won the FA Cup.
Okay,
they had a long-term vision. They had a long-term vision and a long-term plan with him.
And would they have had that if he didn't win the FA Cup?
Yeah, I think they would.
I don't think they would. I think that was the difference. A lot of people make the argument. You give Arteta time. He is the template for patient success in this day and age. 3 years, 8th, 5th. Don't think it would have happened if they hadn't won the FA Cup. My take. You might disagree.
Yeah, I do disagree. I think they would have given him the time regardless. They sat through 2 8th place finishes and a 5th place finish, and they still stuck with him. So
yeah, because they had the FA Cup.
I don't think it was just because of the FA Cup that they stuck with him. I think they could see a progression plan. They could see something building.
It was a catalyst. It helped.
Do you guys, slightly off topic, but do you guys still think we were going to do like the high pressing if Poch comes back type of football? Do you think that's
not straight away?
Can you do it with Son and Kane though?
Now
that they're rolled up, can you do it with Son and Kane if Poch was to come back in that high pressure football that we had up front? Probably not. Kane ain't got the legs anymore, and I
don't think you can start both of them in the same lineup. I think maybe one of them.
Yeah.
Was there at any point where Poch did not do the high press, the octane high press, where he actually?
Yeah, we stopped high pressing in the last 2 years of Poch, didn't we?
When we went to
that whole run to the Champions League final, none of that was high pressing.
Yeah, exactly. So that's my point as well. So like this, because I always hear that we can't use Poch again with Son and Kane because we always do this high press. But in fact, like you said, the last 2 years we weren't doing high press, so
it cost him his job.
Yeah, because the team weren't as able to do it anymore. Yeah. The team that we had just weren't able to do the high press that we were able to at the beginning of his tenure. That's the reality. There was not much.
Saying that, then that's in that respect. Then we're saying that we need to in a sense, get rid of Son and Kane, effectively.
No, I just think you have to manage them. You have to manage them. That's it. And like right now, the last few managers, Mourinho, Conte, they've literally every game, every minute, Son and Kane have to play, and that you can't, especially under Pochettino, that can't be the case. I just think going forward, once players hit those kind of ages, you just have to be smart with them and manage them. And that's what we're going to have to do going forward. 100%.
Do you think Rashford drop Kane or Son? You reckon that will happen?
Yeah, he's going to have to. He's going to have. We have look. They're not They're not in their mid-20s anymore. We have to.
Yeah,
they can't play every minute of
And
every
will that
game.
be popular with the fans? You know, like there's a lot of people that love Son, and if Son's dropped or Kane's dropped,
if the team's winning, if the team's winning, the fans will get behind it.
I'm saying,
I didn't see the fans complaining when we beat West Ham and Chelsea, and
No, but I'm saying if
they didn't
Kane-
say, "Oh my God, Son wasn't there." We
no,
won.
not Son. All right, Son's maybe a bad example, but if Kane gets dropped and we don't win games, do you think fans will have patience like how we had patience before with Poch? Just throwing it out there.
But you're not going to drop your striker, so I don't really think it's your striker scores 20 plus goals a season. So I don't really think it's a conversation. No
I
man.
think
That's our best player.
Kane should be the number 10 under Poch anyway, if he was to come here.
That would make sense to me. I'm with that. Do you know what I mean? That would make sense. And then front three would be doing the running more.
Just a hypothetical question: if neither of these two managers we're talking about actually come, who on earth?
How dare you, Si?
Come on! After the last 24 hours at Spurs, let's ask this question because it could easily be a situation, and I just have no idea.
It probably will be the situation, to be honest.
Gattuso in.
What's the foreign manager we were linked with? Is it
The who?
the Feyenoord manager?
The other reason I mentioned that is because obviously, like the Real Madrid situation, PSG situation as well. Like, there's so many things that can happen in this short space of time, and certainly next few months. Now we've got rid of Conte, it's almost going to start a bit of a frenzy again across the Europe and stuff. So I'm thinking like, if they're quicker reacting than maybe Daniel Levy we're hoping he would be, if it doesn't work out, like what on earth would we do? Because you're then, I guess, talking about a load more money again to try and get a manager that's already in a management position. And my education on that side of it is not huge, but I don't know what other managers are available at this time to try and come in. I think it'd be massively a bit of a crazy one.
Imagine Ancelotti leaves and Paratici goes all out for Ancelotti. That'd be just so Paratici.
Yeah, you got Ancelotti coming available. I think he's going Brazil. You got Luis Enrique as well, who's not got a club at the moment. I mean, there's enough top managers out there without clubs at the moment, aren't there? More than enough that are desperate to get back into
I guess
work.
like Frank, maybe Thomas Frank, if we can
He ain't coming.
buy him out.
He's already said he's not going. He said he's happy at Brentford, right? And so did Zerbi.
Yeah, he would say that, wouldn't he? Because he ain't going to come now. But maybe at the end of the season it'll be different. I don't know. Who knows?
I'm looking at the amount of support for Arnie Schlott in the comments, and now I realise why I'm getting so much hate tonight. I know where that's come from, and I know where the supporters are coming from.
Another super chat here from Baxty Gaming saying, "Great chat, lads. Disappointed but not surprised. Conte is gone. His rant was right for me. Nagelsmann is the play, but clear out needed of players as well." And Connor Cunningham says, with the debate over patience and projects, do you think fans would be patient if the club would come out and say that this is a 3-year plan and what we're going to do each year? I think that's what's needed, a structured plan. And that's exactly what I've been saying. I mean, that's why I think fans ran out of patience with Conte, because there was no long-term strategy there and we couldn't see any light at the end of the tunnel where we were going. So I think that
his short 18-month contract was on him, mate.
It was on both of them.
It was on both.
He didn't want to sign another contract.
What? It was a marriage of convenience that didn't really convenience either party.
Come on, why can't we just call a spade a spade? He didn't want to sign longer than he chose. This is all like I blame Daniel Levy for putting us in this situation.
But I also feel like Levy didn't want to give him a 3-year deal as well. I also feel that way. I do, genuinely. Because I feel like he didn't want to give him a massive 4-year deal and then be forced to sack him after 2 years.
How far back do we have to go to find a period when Conte didn't when Conte didn't say I'm not going to talk about a new contract until the summer?
Sean, isn't that on Levy then? If Conte is coming to you and saying I'm only signing for 18 months, isn't that on Levy?
Yes, I've said 1,000 times. I blame Daniel Levy 100% for putting us in this situation. But once he's in this situation, people that want to dismiss the reality of Antonio Conte being Antonio Conte, they have a partisan bias.
What reality are we dismissing?
The fact that Conte didn't give a shit. He wasn't interested. It's all about him. Meet my demands. There's no compromise. I'm going to go down swinging. I'm going to go down fighting like I do everywhere else I go.
Well, who's denying that?
No, Ben's saying he's upset that we didn't get a 3-year project under this guy. It was never going to happen. It was never, ever going to happen.
It's not specifically about Conte. I'm upset that we're going for short-termism, and I'm saying that is why the fans running out of patience because there's no long-term plan. Not specifically under Conte, under Jose as well, under anyone.
Sean, do you not think there was hesitancy on Levy's side as well to give Conte a manager known for blowing up a long-term deal?
Do I think there was hesitancy when he first signed? Potentially, but I think that at any point in the last, go back to October, September, at any point, if Conte had said, I'm up for a new contract conversation, it would have happened. 100%, I believe that with all my heart. And yet he was asked time and time again after every game, what's the situation? And he said, I'll deal with it later. Yeah. And Conte and Levy was blamed for the shit show window in January that was inevitably going to be bad because we were talking about this back in November, during the World Cup. How can a club get behind and back, I hate the phrase, back a manager when, first of all, the manager's contract runs out in 9 months. He's got absolutely no interest in signing a new deal. But no one wants to do that. Everyone's got their agenda. If you're Levy out, then you have to be Conte in, and everything that he does gets a free pass. It's bollocks. There's no balance. There's absolutely no balance. It drives me up the fucking wall.
Did you believe, Sean, that before the World Cup, apparently, like things were going well and they were about to do talks, Conte and Spurs, and then after the World Cup, there was some type of I don't know, something went wrong, and then Conte refused to sign the extension, something like that. It was something, or am I hearing things wrong? Is that just rumors? How there was negotiations were going well, and then all of a sudden it kind of just fell apart, and then no one heard anything.
Probably based around the window again, Ash. He's probably just waiting to see what kind of backing. January's not the greatest of months anyway, is it? But he's probably sitting there in November thinking, okay, well, let's talk about this. And January comes around, nothing's really happened.
Yeah. They're meant to sit down for a while and, be talking constantly throughout the World Cup and planning their next move. And then all of a sudden, it kind of just broke down. I'm just wondering, I would like to be a fly on the wall, wonder what happened. Was it a lack of ambition on the board side, or was it Conte asking for too much and being unrealistic?
I think Sean was pretty spot on in the set. I just generally believe when Conte came in, I think it was probably the worst and the best decision that the whole thing could have happened, really, because we knew we'd be sitting here at some point having this kind of discussion about it all. Yeah. I think it's bizarre, really, that Conte has come in, maybe just for money, I don't know, but surely he must have known the way Spurs operate. It's not going to change overnight. It's not changed for many years. And then trying to do some negotiations on a contract last November. You get to January, what was he expecting? We're not going to buy new players. We're not going to bring in substantial players that maybe Conte perceives that we should have for the club to take us forward. It's not going to happen. As Sean says, we've got shit loads of money to pay off this stadium and everything else. It's just not a reality. So we bring in more loan players and shaft some out. Well, actually, we cancelled contracts, which was crazy. And then maybe that's what the spanner was. Maybe it was okay, I thought we were on a path here, and then clearly nothing is actually going to change, and it probably rolled them all up. And then you've got the next. That was only 2 months ago. The last 2 months, obviously, unfortunately, medical situation. But I just think you just build it in your head, don't you? Probably fans have all season. The frustration continues, and then it just rubs off on everyone. That's probably why the players also started getting agitated.
And did
Boys,
Nagelsmann
I got to go. Sorry, lads. It's 1:15. I've got to be up at 6 to take the dog out, so I got to jump off.
Wait, Sean, you got to wait for the new manager to be appointed. You can't leave. That's what's going on.
We're doing
Yeah,
the
rest of the
stream. They're getting all the way through.
We're staying until there's a manager appointed. We're live until there's a new manager, permanent.
No, I love you all. It's been fun. The comments haven't been, but I expect that. And
everyone shows some love for Sean in the comments.
If any of you want to come over to Spurs
show
Talk
some love
Show
for Sean in the comments.
I couldn't care less. If any of you do want to come over and check out my channel, you'll see that I've got very balanced opinions at Spurs Talk Show. But guys, I got to go. Love you all.
Sean, look at all this love in the comments for you now.
Yeah, it's coming.
Come on,
I don't.
They love you really.
I love all the hate. I get energy from it either way. It's all perfect for me.
The internet doesn't like balance, Sean. Do you have to learn that?
It's all good. I love it. I'll see you again very soon. Love you all. Have a good one. Take care, guys.
See you, Sean.
See you, Shawnee.
But I think we're coming to that time anyway, where we've been going for nearly 3 hours now, 2 hours 40 minutes. I want to say a big up to all of you guys out there. All the super chats have been flying in today, so thank you for that. Really does help the channel keep going, and thank you all for the panel as well. Marlon, Sai, Ash, Dave, Sim, big up to all of you. We'll start with Marlon. Where can we find you? What are you plugging today?
View from the South Stand TV. We did a monthly show a couple of days ago. My host hosted it, and it was fire. Ash was a guest on it. But yeah, that's where you can find me. View from the South Stand TV. Just put the handle in YouTube, and that's where you'll find us. We do match reactions as well. So yeah, come over, have your say. It's actually quite fun. We have some fun times on it. So yeah.
Big up. Sai, where can people find you?
Anywhere really. Anywhere you want.
Find them on the beach.
I'm all over. I'm like, where's Wally?
You
I'm all over the place.
Find him with a Malibu in his hand.
Malibus, pina coladas, usually Gunwharf, Portsmouth on a sunny day. Or if you like crypto blockchain, head over to Wales of Wall Street. Appreciate the opportunity to shout that out.
Big up. Ashmatic, you want to plug anything?
Yeah. You could also find me alongside Marlon at some point in the South News boys, as you can see in his title there.
Handle.
And his handle, yeah, that's the word I was looking for. Yeah. So yeah, man. And that's it really. You see me on other channels. Just see me around.
Big up. Dave, got anything interesting coming up on your channel this week?
Yeah, I have to get out of bed early tomorrow and stream, don't I? So I don't usually do morning streams, so everyone can check me out in the morning, see how good I look, see how glowing I am in the mornings. Look, I just want to say, manager can't be the only thing that needs to change. It looks like Paratici could be on his way tomorrow. He's a court hearing in the morning. See how that goes. But also, captaincy needs to change. Dyer, Davies, Sanchez, Lloris, they all have to change too. Can't just keep being the manager. There's certain things, I get it. Many people wanted Conte gone. But if you think Conte going and all your problems with Tottenham Hotspur and all these other problems that you see with Tottenham Hotspur are going to go out the door with him, you're sadly mistaken.
And just before we go, I did run a poll just about 20 minutes ago. Who do you want next? Nagelsmann, Poch, or other? Nagelsmann winning that with 55%. Poch has got 27%, and then other with 18%. So Nagelsmann is. Look, do you think potentially, guys, just before we go, that we could potentially get a manager to commit by the end of the season, like now in the next few weeks?
Ooh, that's a good question.
Do you think you mean like announced, as in we'll know? Or...
Yeah, like announced before season ticket renewals.
I think Spurs are holding out for Nagelsmann. Personally, I think that's their number one target. But I just think he needs more time. I think he's trying to weigh up his options, and obviously he's coming out of that mad relationship with Bayern Munich.
What's interesting, Ash, as well, is the statement today till the end of the season.
Yes.
Like
I just restarted the stream.
Yeah, why did you do this? Is there anything? And now it's like we're going for another hour.
Yeah, don't even. That's just
quick answers only, people. Quick answers only.
It is weird though, isn't it? Like that's suggesting like they're not going to make a decision till the end, or at least say it, because Otherwise, you'd bring them in now, wouldn't you? Or say you're caretakers until something's happened. Like the wording's already concrete, isn't it?
And he said he's doing research on Spurs as well. And
Another half hour.
so I just said, bro, if he's doing research on Levy,
I think there's a chance, but I wouldn't rule it out. But I reckon it's more likely it'll be at the end of the season. But I wouldn't look. Football changes very quickly. I wouldn't rule it out.
All right, guys. Well, thank you all for coming on. Thank you, everyone out there, for all your lovely views and super chats. It's been emotional tonight. It's 3 hours of talking about Conte and Levy and basically fighting for the last 3 hours with Sean. So it's been good fun. And we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe, and comment. And as always, come on, you Spurs.
Come on, you Spurs.
Spurs.